problem with TikTok apparently, or sorry, Kick didn't want to log in, and it wouldn't let anything else log in either. And honestly, I'm kind of just done with Kick anyways. So
God, is
I had
Kick
to try it
gaining
as like
any
a
traction
thing.
at all on with
I mean,
any?
I am slowly growing over there, but not to any particular.
Is anybody really growing over there, though? I know a bunch of people moved over there because they were paid contracts to do so, and they make 95% of the revenue. But
I think there's the people who are like paid to go over there, and I think there's the people who are too problematic to be anywhere else, and I think that's kind of it. And I didn't realize that when I like started doing it. I was just like, yeah, I'll do all the platforms. Why not? And it's just not like there's one person who watches fairly consistently on our rating, and that's it. Yeah. None of my other stuff, and everybody else is just a bot over there. So it's just like whatever. Dan, real life is going to get you a stalking charge. Okay. Let's get a little set up for this evening. So what have you been up to? Just been busy working this week, or has the weather been okay for you?
Weather's been holding out a little bit. But yeah, I've been super busy. I'm getting so many calls, man. I never imagined this business of mine would take off as like it has. I'm at that point now where I'm going to start turning down calls because I just can't do anymore. I just don't have the time for it.
That is a wonderful problem to have.
Yeah, it really is. I'm waiting to hear back on a bid. There's a 5-acre cemetery that I think I have a really good opportunity to take over it. They called me, and somebody I know recommended me to them. And so like that 5-acre cemetery, just basically I chalk up a whole day just to work on that. And that's going to bring in some big money each month. And that's just, it's kind of nice. Just this like one thing that brings in a ton of money, and I just do it one day every other week. And so I'm hoping I get that. That'll be nice. Otherwise, it's just, changing out toilets, fixing sprinkler systems, and mowing lawns and stuff like that. What have you been up to? You still working for the government?
Absolutely.
Are you enjoying it?
I feel like the bird in like Flintstones. I'm like, it's a living. Like, just like, I don't know if enjoying it is right. I like the people I work with a lot. If they were to move on, the job would get exponentially harder to wake up and go into. And unfortunately, like one of the women who I work with, who's like incredibly smart and really good, is like constantly talking about moving on. I'm just like, please don't. I miss you so much already. But no, it's a decent job. And I mean, so the problem is all of my coworkers are like 5 years or less in, and I've got 18 years in. So it's like, I ain't going anywhere at this point. Like, it wouldn't make any sense. I've got ridiculous amounts of vacation time and stuff like that built up. I've got a nice pension. I don't know about in America, but like a government pension in Canada is pretty freaking solid. So like,
yeah, if you go 20 years working for the government in America, you can retire comfortably.
Yeah, okay.
But getting that 20 years on a government paycheck is just going to kill you because you're just barely scraping by.
Yeah, okay.
Our government has this wonderful ability to sustain people at the minimum level. Like you have just enough to get by. You're never going to be rich. You're never going to get, grow or do anything, but you will have just enough to sustain yourself. And that's where our government tends to like keep its populace, it seems like.
That's unfortunate. Both of my grandparents worked for the Postal Service in Canada.
Uh-huh.
And my grandfather passed away years ago. I believe my grandmother's still picking up her retirement checks and his. I'm not 100% sure on that. But like, she's living super comfortably. She just hit 100 last December and is like, it's just one of those weird, like, so work for the government for, X amount of years and you're set. Now, granted, he also was like D-Day survivor, I guess is the proper
warrior.
Warrior. So I'm sure he got X amount of money from military as well, but he wasn't like professional military. He was like D-Day military. You know what I mean? Like he signed up for the war, not a living.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just working on the poster, trying to see if we can make all of this fit. It's going to be like, it might add one more franchise to this at most before it just gets too small. So I just put it off till just now and realized, like, oh shit, yeah, I need to actually figure out what we're doing there.
If it were me, I would probably have the poster split into. I would have 3 sections of the poster, and then wherever this movie ends up falling, this franchise ends up falling, I'd stick it in that chunk, and then you can see a couple above and a couple below. You know, and I just have 3 chunks ready to go wherever it falls. I'm not going to give away which third of the list I think it's going to land on today, but
I was already talking to a chat. I don't know how long you were lurking for, but this movie's got primarily child actors in the lead. Yeah, I can't imagine it's going to be a high ranker for you.
We'll talk about it. I don't think I'm going to light this thing up as bad as other people think I will, but you know, there's definitely some ups and downs in this movie.
There's things to say about it.
There are things to say about it for sure. And if we knew where Will was, we could be saying those things.
I'm going to bring this up as soon as the episode starts, but just out of curiosity, have you ever seen 2 or 3?
You know what? I realized that I have seen parts of 2. I remember the lead character in 2. Don't remember the movie at all. At all, I don't remember it. But I know that I've seen parts of it because I thought that guy was the star of number 1.
Oh, okay.
And then I was like, oh, never mind. I'm getting the movies confused. I've seen all of 1. I know I've seen parts of 2, but don't remember anything of it. And I didn't know the 3 existed.
Me neither. That was a new one for me. All right. I can't find a great logo.
Ad break in progress, but that doesn't matter because we all got gifted subs like crazy from the headliner stream a week ago.
Well, and Panda Blue and Real Bubba Hotep just had a little duke it out in my chat too. So I just got a couple more, which is quite lovely of them. Unfortunately, I think most of them went to people I've never heard of. I was like,
right.
Okay, appreciate you anyways. But
Zippity Doodah just subscribed. I'm like, I'm not sure I know Zippity.
Well, have you ever just been gifted a sub randomly for a streamer you've never heard of?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, I've part of me is like, that's actually really cool because I usually check that streamer out to be like, why did I get a stream to this? And it's like, oh, okay, cool. So like, I kind of love that they do that in a way of like bringing in random people. Like maybe the algorithm or whatever it is sees that person, be like, you know what, you might like this guy because of other reasons. Let's just give that sub to them and see and bring him in. But at the same time, it's like, I'm just going to pick a random name here. Miss Hillary's been a fan for a long time. Why doesn't she get a sub? Like, why doesn't she get rewarded for being a fan?
I thought that's what it was. It's like if I had been in mobile stream, say last week, and somebody in there gifted out 100 subs, I would assume I would catch one of those if it filled up everybody that was viewing currently. But yeah, I've received some for people I've never even heard of before. I know that I've never visited their stream before, so I don't know how it works, but I would hope they would give it to fans first. Personally, Milo? I'd rather the people that already shown up would make it happen.
Let them come in for 10 seconds. The audience loves them. Sorry, dogs here.
So I'm going over my point scoring for each of my categories here, and I'm having real trouble on direction for this one. So that's a complete unknown for me, and I think that's going to be where we talk a little bit about it and discuss what we thought of the direction of this film.
Yeah, there's a couple of the categories that I'm pretty dead set on, and there's like one that I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. Milo!
Yeah.
Come here, buddy. Hi, buddy. Yeah. Hello, friend. So, Brun, I haven't talked to you. I talked to the audience a little bit. There is a decent chance that my wife might join us for a little bit of this conversation.
Okay.
What are you thinking, babe? Are you likely to join us? Are you ready right now? Is this why you're here? Is this why Milo's here? You look so nervous right now. You're regretting all of your decisions. She was like kind of up for it earlier, and now she's just like, You're not on screen right now. You're good. You only been on the one time for the waxing, right?
Mrs. Manguli, come say hi.
Run 7 wants you to come say hi.
Hi.
Get over here.
Hi.
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 This is Mrs. Manguli, or Mom Ghoulie, as some were calling her on chat earlier.
Mom Ghoulie?
Well, yeah. There's John Ghoulie for Jonathan, and now Mom Ghoulie for you.
So can she hear me?
Yes.
She cannot hear you, but I can relay messages.
Okay,
I
ask
can-
her. Ask her how thrilled she is about you starting up your streaming career and content creation.
You know what? That's worth changing this over. Give me 1 second.
I always like to talk to the spouses about their husbands or wives as they enter into the world of content creation because
She
it's
can
so
now hear you.
fascinating to me.
Talk for a
All right,
second, see if they can hear you.
So can you hear me now?
I can hear
Okay.
you. Yep.
Excellent. So I want to
Can you
know.
hear her?
Yes, I can. How wonderful has it been for your husband to come down into this room and then lock himself behind the door for hours at a time and never see him?
There's literally no door. They can hear everything.
I'm curious. This as Dan has stepped into the world of streaming and content creation, what's it been like for you as his spouse? Has it been troubling? Are you enthusiastic about it? Is he a happier person because he streams, or has this been troublesome for you?
No pressure. No pressure. It's been interesting. I can tell he loves it and he's passionate about it.
Yeah.
Which I have to be careful because he can tend to go down a rabbit hole.
Right.
So we have to like rein him back into reality a little bit here and there.
I know there can be some emotional highs and lows when you have a great big stream and hype trains and all sorts of things, and you come in all excited, and sometimes you can crash from those emotions. A lot of times the stream can dictate how your spouse's mood is going to be the rest of the day.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he comes up every Saturday. He comes upstairs and he's vibrating. He's like so amped up.
Yeah.
I really like my Saturday streams.
Okay, you need to dial it down a one notch or two. but it's good.
Have you ever had to limit him on his streaming and been like, hey, you're spending way too much time in front of the camera?
Yes.
Yeah. I've had to have some talks with my wife about it too.
She
back in the heyday.
always has to limit me with the streamings, or else it would be all I do.
We're done in 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. My wife comes in and she looks at me and just goes, like, okay, I'm shutting it down. So has he tried to drag you into any uncomfortable conversations aside from this one?
No, he's pretty good about checking in and like, how do you feel about this? And I'm totally honest, this is outside of my wheelhouse and really out of my comfort zone. So
I'm legit shocked you wanted to do this one. Like, it makes sense for the movie, but like when I was like, do you want to like record a little piece of this? She's like, maybe. I'm like, what? So I'm pretty excited. I have a smile. You can't see me because I'm too tall for the camera, but I have a huge smile on my face right now.
Well, I think you're adorable, and I'm really glad that we're getting the opportunity to meet you and get to talk to you and everything. And I hope Dan brings you on more often and that you do get a little bit more comfortable with streaming, because you strike me as one of those personalities and types of people that would have something interesting to say. And I'd be curious to hear your thoughts and opinions on some of the weird nonsense that we end up talking about here on our Twitch streams.
Never a dull moment.
She will often hear the screaming, laughing, crying, stuff like that from upstairs. Be like, "You had an interesting stream."
Yep.
Right. Yeah. It could get a little wild here at Twitch.
Yeah.
So is there any kind of topics or things that you hope Dan covers in the future? Like maybe he takes on like a marriage couples counseling course where he's going to do a podcast and learn about the intricacies of relationships? Or are you just hoping he sticks with like miniatures and video games and movies?
She was pretty happy that I stayed out of your conversation from last Friday. Let's just say that.
Therapy chat? Yeah. No, that was nonsense. That was just nonsense there. Hey, and if Dan ever talks you into joining some sort of a group chat and there's a guy named Taco Shooter there, just turn the microphone off and run, okay?
Yeah,
run away.
Legit good advice. That's legit
just run away. You don't want Taco to interview
you. Oh, there's some interesting screen names that have come up.
Oh yeah,
I'm always here, and I've got to know a few of you that he's
won't shut up about
friends with.
Friends.
Like, I don't know how
We've been
online
recording a
works.
show for over almost a year now, every week.
Yeah,
I'd say Friends.
Yeah, it is
all
kind of weird that I've never met Dan in person. He lives, 2,000-3,000 miles away from. I'm not even sure because I'm an American. I don't know where things are on the map. But
we measure by time. I don't even understand these kilometers you're talking about, or miles. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's really weird to have people that I do consider friends, even good friends like Dan, and I've never met him in person. And I have a lot of people in chat who I've never seen or heard their voice, but I consider them my friend because they show up on a regular basis and talk to us, and you share aspects of your life with them.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird.
So much time together that it just
Right?
makes sense.
Yeah,
But
yeah. It's kind of weird.
different, very different. This is all you, babe.
I know. I was just letting you sit.
Help her out, Dan. Come on.
Enjoy that. If it ever gets weird, just look at the dog.
Yeah, and you can always just read through chat and see what they're saying and respond to what they see. Real Bubba Hotep says, well, now I need a tissue.
More often than not, chat's more interesting than I am anyways, so it's always a good fallback.
Yeah.
Nice to have a new face and opinion around. Yeah. So, what's going on upstairs? How long are you able to join us for?
I think I've got it under control.
So you can join us for a chunk?
Yeah, dishes are done, and the other girl's putting the other one to bed, so
there you go.
We're good.
Do you have like notes or anything, or do you just winging it?
Half winging it. I jotted a couple notes while we watched the film, but just kind of reminders for myself. But,
okay.
Yeah.
Do your kids partake in a lot of after school activities, or do you have some easy to handle stuff? Because I know a lot of parents that I'm friends with, their kids just like they each do like 3 different things and stuff. I've got 2 kids, one in jiu-jitsu and one who just signed up for basketball camp and eventually football. Okay. And so I'm trying to juggle, cheering on my kids and still try and make some time to get on and stream on Twitch and manage a business. Are your kids pretty tough to take care of?
It's no, I mean, they're entering teenager stage, so it becomes a little bit more challenging, but overall they're good.
I'm not there yet. I've got 8 and 11 and they're already too much for me to handle.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. The teenage years are going to be terrible. Now, you guys have some girls, right?
Yeah. All girls.
Okay. I dodged that bullet. I've got 2 boys. It's challenging enough.
It's not a bullet. It's amazing.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome.
You haven't convinced me yet.
I'm not trying to convince you. I'm a girl dad and I love it.
I remember watching a family member with a bunch of boys, like her own kids, and they were going from one end of the house to the other, full tilt, and launching themselves onto her. And I thought, oh dear God, I don't think I can handle that. So I think I'm good. But I can handle emotions.
Are we not getting Will today?
I don't know what's going on. He usually is pretty prompt. Honestly, he usually beats you here, and he's not responding to my text. I don't have his actual number like I do yours, so I can't really message him. But out of curiosity, for those in the chat, can you hear both of us okay? And are you getting any echo or anything like that from when Brian talks? You have him on the microphone, so on the speakers. I don't know if the microphone is kicking him up or something. Here's perfectly.
Pretty sassy, yes, they can.
My air conditioner is making the wall shake, so my picture is vibrating up and down.
You stream today? I'm here. Let me in. There we go. Look at that.
Good evening. Why does the knocking always fool Dan? That's a good question. What's up, Will?
Hello.
Mr. Cleaning Agent, we were just getting introduced to Mrs. Manguli, Dan's wife here.
I was watching while I was getting set up. Welcome, Mrs. Manguli.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh no, it's our pleasure. Absolutely.
All right. I'm gonna get ready for a quick second. Just run to the washroom. I'm gonna put ads on now so they don't interrupt us in the middle of the show.
Some ads, yeah.
Smirt.
Are you cool hanging out for 30 seconds with him?
She's great hanging out. I got plenty of questions.
Doing fine. All right, we'll be right. I do have plenty of questions. Don't trust him.
Yep.
All right.
Will's safe. Like I said, it's taco shooter you want to watch out for. Will's safe. Yeah.
Don't
All right,
don't you
no.
worry about it. Don't you worry about it. All right.
How's the move going, cleaning agent?
Yeah, the move's fine. I mean, we still are living with boxes all around us and such, but we're slowly.
How long do you think you're going to be
unpacking.
living with boxes? Like, when's the last one going to get unpacked? For me, I think I still have one.
Never. Yeah, never.
Okay.
No. Especially because we also don't think this will be, the forever home. So some things are just going to be packed unless we need them, right? It's just the way
I see.
just the way it is. But we're not here to talk about stupid moving. That's what we're here to get away from. So, Mrs. Monguli, I didn't catch everything, but I've caught a little bit of the conversation. So, my apologies if this is a repeat question.
Yes.
We know that Dan has terrible taste in movies. Let's talk about your taste in movies.
Good line of questioning. I like this.
Mhm.
Oh.
If you could just name, like, off the top of your head,
Yeah.
like a go-to movie that you could watch any day of the week, what would that be?
Any day of the week.
Yeah, just something you're like, you know what? I could watch that again. I could watch that again right now.
I have like seasonal favorites, I guess.
Okay, I like that. I
that
like
works.
that.
So one of the ones that I always watch every Halloween is and now I'm blanking on it. The one with the three witches.
Hocus
Yeah,
Pocus.
Hocus Pocus.
Yes, Hocus Pocus.
Now, do
My
you like
wife
one or two?
Loves that as well.
The first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something about that one that it's kind of fun and just lighthearted and I don't know. I really enjoy it. And it's something that I've been able to
Absolutely.
watch with the kids every year. So that's
Yeah, my son is 5 years old and he loves that movie. He watches it any time of year. It doesn't matter the season.
Okay.
Yeah, loves it. My wife loves that movie. I was never a huge fan of it growing up, but now I am obligated to
Kinda
watch it
roped
every year.
in
Mhm,
by
mhm.
default.
I was always a bigger fan of the movie Witches.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know.
the one
I
where they
was
turn the
just
boy into a mouse and he rides on the Lego train.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was just darker. I just really was into it. I don't know why. I thought it was
Love the
really
old
cool. So yeah, that's a great
Witches.
pick. Okay, give us another season.
You would know. What are some of the ones that are
Are-
like my go-tos?
Are there any like TV shows or something that you and your husband like to tune in to watch together? Anything you guys like look forward to for movie night or TV night that you guys enjoy just watching together?
I don't do all this pressure. You answer.
There's zero pressure. There's zero
You're,
pressure.
I know.
you're going through Gilmore Girls for probably
Yeah.
the third time with the girls.
Oh,
First time
okay.
for them, but like it's gotta be
Yeah.
Ra's a
second.
Gilmore girl, right? Ra's a Gilmore
yes,
girl.
yeah. She's a Lorelai for sure. Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Me either. But I know it's obviously one of the characters in the show, right?
Just the main character, that's
Okay.
all.
Yeah.
She can be a Paris every once in a while, but most of the time she's a Lorelai. So there's like two people in chat that know what I'm talking about, but whatever.
And it's great content for those two, I'm sure.
Hey, Mrs. Monguli understands what you're saying, so that's all that
Sure,
matters.
that's all that
We're-
matters,
We're,
yeah.
talking with her right now. Screw
It's a
everything
win.
else.
I don't even have to be here.
That's
What's-
preferred,
I'll
actually.
sure go.
Is there any movies that you've seen recently that kind of stuck with you, whether they be good or bad? Just something that you're like, oh, I saw this and it was shocking or whatever. Anything that just comes to mind.
Talking off the top of your head, your
It's
expertise.
my
Bread and
point.
butter.
Yep.
Give her a week, she'll have a great answer for you next time. What
When
have
did
we
we
seen
watch-
recently?
Yeah.
We've been watching The Last of Us, but we're not caught up yet.
Yep.
We've
Fair.
been doing Gilmore. We've been doing more TV than movies lately.
Yeah, it's been a little bit trickier lately.
You joined us for The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. What'd you think about
I
that? That was last
did.
week's episode.
That was
No, 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
That was a film.
Not a big fan of Westerns either, huh?
It's not a big
It
Western
was-
household, but
Oh, okay.
It's like, oh my gosh, why are we still in this moment? Like, let's move on.
I wish I'd
Very
shown
impressive.
her the middle one. A few dollars more.
Oh, I
Yeah.
was
A few dollars
watching
more.
that
Mhm.
video earlier.
Yeah, I think that was the sweet spot in the franchise by just a smidge.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I think that one it moves a little bit quicker. It's a little
Okay.
bit more interesting. The characters are better, I personally think.
Okay.
I don't know that it's like let's go back and watch it right now, but like I could see myself watching that one again down the road. I don't know
Yeah.
that I'll revisit the other two anytime soon.
Yeah.
What? Okay, so you're not big on westerns. Is there a genre that you do like? Are you into
Yeah.
romance or comedy or action or science fiction?
No, don't.
Yeah, because Dan's a big sci-fi guy, right?
Yes.
Do you share that love?
In small doses.
Okay, sure.
You like the sci-fi that doesn't deal with like aliens and nonsense more, right? Like you like the personal stuff. Like
Yeah.
what was the
This is
TV
it.
show that was a remake?
Black Mirror?
No, she hates Black Mirror.
Oh.
Too close to reality.
Not Stargate. What was the one that was remade from the 70s?
Battlestar
Battlestar
Galactica?
You enjoyed that
Yeah,
one.
that was really good.
Because
Who
it was
doesn't
people
enjoy some good old
Yeah.
Battlestar Galactica, man? That's classic right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Spoiler
think
alert:
it's
one of
really
the
good.
actors in NeverEnding Story was in Battlestar Galactica.
I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea, but I remember reading it when I was reading it.
Okay.
I think it's Atreyu.
Yeah,
It's one of
I
the
believe it's Atreyu.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, weird. Okay.
It was either
Does
Atreyu
he
or
grow
Hap.
up to be the...
Oh, okay.
No, the old one, like the 70s version.
The
not-
old, yeah.
Oh,
the original.
okay.
No, none of the kids have prominent careers today. One of them is still acting, but not very much.
Okay,
Yeah.
doing cereal commercials or something probably, huh?
I think
Okay.
the Empress,
yeah, like
the
one-off
Empress is
TV shows,
trying to get back into acting, I think, but she had a long dancing career and choreograph.
Probably best.
Yeah.
Playing your hand a little early, are we, Ron?
Sorry, couldn't help it. I'm trying not to be too harsh on child actors.
Yeah, I mean, with a children's movie.
Yeah. Should we light this candle or what do you guys want to do?
I think we should light this candle. Before we
Amazing.
get started, I was going to. One of the things I keep noticing when I'm editing, partially on me, and that's another story. I like Will's intros, but I still want to have an intro for the show, so people showing up for the very first time have some idea what they're getting into.
Right, before
Instead
I'm
of just jumping in,
talking randomly. Yeah.
So once Will does his intro, I'll cut to like the widescreen of all of us, and I'll just do a little like, "Hey, everybody, welcome to our rating, the show where we do blah 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 blah." I'm Dan. These are my co-hosts, Will and Brian, and then I'll go into, you know, how I usually like to start off by asking you like, "What's your introduction to this movie?" And then from there, we'll just let the discussion go as normal.
No, that sounds good. Yeah, keeping it real short. And I do like Will opening, and then it goes to the intro to the show. I always like it's kind of like a narrative hook. I like it.
Yeah, agreed. All right. I wonder, is there a way to get? So the problem is I'm not aimed. Oh, I could do a super close up without Amy there. Can you like rotate a little bit so you're not directly in screen, just so I can like introduce you?
Wow.
What?
Just kicking
She's never
her
been
out.
Can you just get
Just
the
like
hell
that.
off screen for a minute? This is about me right now, not
Just
you.
know what you're doing
Don't
already.
worry,
if you
Mrs.
wouldn't mind.
Magui. He kicks us out when he
Wanna
wants the
hear you,
limelight
Mom.
all to himself too. We're used
Oh
to
yeah. We've been kicked off
I mean-
a lot.
it.
Can you blame me, Will? Let's be
They
honest.
come sassy and your
You're right,
screen
you're
just
right.
goes away.
Brian sometimes deserves it. You're right.
Yeah. That's fair.
Screen hog Dan. There you go. You got me. All right. Here we go.
Oh, I might go. Is it go time?
It will be in 1 second. Let's just, here we go. Now
Open
we
those curtains. The NeverEnding Story, 1984. Turn around. Look at what you see. In her face, the mirror of your dreams. Make believe I'm everywhere. Hidden in the lines written on the pages is the answer to a never-ending story. Reach the stars. Fly a fantasy. Dream a dream. And what you see will be rhyme that keeps their secrets. Will unfold behind the clouds, and there upon the rainbow is the answer to a never-ending story. That's all I got.
Did Bob Dylan help you write that? Like, what was that?
The dramatic reading of Neverending Story. I like it.
That's the song. That's the title song to Neverending Story.
Oh, I'm well aware. Thank you. I was with you from like line 2.
Yeah, fair.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Our Rating, the show where I get together with two of my friends. We take a movie franchise, break it down by a movie, give it an overall score, and throw it on the board. Today, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Will and Brian, as well as a special guest. we've got the yin to my yang, the rider of my thang, Mrs. Monguli, here to join us. Hello, Amy. How are you doing today?
Wow, that's the
Little
intro.
Yeah, wow.
You're welcome. Love you.
Good thing you're cute.
Yeah.
Good
So,
thing you're cute.
Brian, we were talking about this a little bit beforehand. There are 3 movies in this franchise. I didn't know one of them existed until just recently. What's your history with this franchise? Are you aware of all 3 of them? Have you seen these before?
Well, I mean, I'm aware of them now, obviously, but I had thought that I'd only seen number 1, and it turns out I think I've seen parts of number 2 because I was getting the main star of number 2 mixed up with this movie. I watched this movie and I remembered all of it, and I was like, yeah, I've seen it before, and I think I've seen some of the sequel. I did not know number 3 existed, and because all of these are chock filled with child actors, there's probably good reason for it. And we'll get into that. I'm going to try not to be too hard on child actors because this is, it's a family film and it's full of child actors. So I'm going to try and keep the rating in there at the same. But that is a tough one for me to get through.
For sure. Honestly, anybody long-term fan of the show probably saw that one coming. What about you, Will? Are you familiar with this franchise as a whole or any part of it?
I am very familiar with the first movie. I believe I watched the second movie once. That was enough. And I don't think I ever, no, I never watched the third. And I probably never will.
Fair enough. I know you actually requested to join us on this one, so I know you've seen the first one a ton. We own the second one, but it's not even open, so I don't know if you've ever seen that one. Did you even know the third one existed?
I knew there was a third one. Same as you, Will. I loved the first one. I got into the second one, and it got so out there, and it was just missing all the marks, all the beats that I loved about the first one, so I didn't even bother with the third one.
Yeah,
clever girl.
I believe the first one was obviously a theatrical release that didn't do all that well. Probably found its audience on VHS or whatever it was at the time, Betamax. You're giving me a weird look. Well, I'm pretty sure I looked up that it did not make its money back in theaters.
The first movie?
Yeah,
it absolutely did. It made 20 million in Germany alone, and
I saw
it only cost 27 million to make, and then all of the other places we released is where it made almost 100 mil total.
Interesting. I did not see that at all. I was looking on IMDb. It looked like it only made 20 million total. I didn't realize that was
that's only in Germany, and then it was released worldwide like a few months later.
That makes far more sense for why it made 2 sequels. I was kind of
Budget
surprised when I saw that, but I figured it was just a cult
for
classic.
this. Is
Yeah, the budget
right?
was 27 million. Yes, it was
Wow.
the most
What, 1984?
expensive. Yeah, it was the most expensive non-American movie of its time, budget wise.
And you know what? To just jump into it, I think that was money well spent. I think they did an amazing job with the sets, scenes, and animatronics. It was pretty incredible for its time, especially.
I'm going to throw you a bone on this one, Run. I think all of the money went into the set, the design, stuff like that, and they had nothing left for the actors afterwards.
Yeah, that checks. That checks.
I don't know if that's true. That's just how it feels.
Oh my goodness.
So we have a ton of child actors. We don't have a lot of big names in this film. At least they weren't when they first started here. Not a lot of human characters. There are a lot of animatronic characters. There are a lot of people in huge costumes, double, triple heads. You've got people with hair and fangs, a rock monster, all kinds of crazy stuff. As for the human characters, and I'm going to throw this one to Will, what did you think of the acting for the human characters? Because when it comes to the animatronics and stuff, it's kind of a whole different ballgame there. But like, Will, what did you think? Especially, that we had a couple little boys, little princess girl. And I don't even know if there were any real other human characters that weren't covered in makeup from head to toe.
A lot of the adult characters were made up pretty good. But yeah, I maybe because I watched this as a child, I wasn't that hung up on the child acting, so to speak. That said, I believe Atreyu was pretty good. The actor who did Atreyu. I didn't mind the Empress either. She has a very small role in the movie. And then the kid who played Bastion was probably the weakest of them all, which is unfortunate because he's the protagonist of the story. But luckily we get Atreyu more than anybody.
Dan,
Yeah,
what do you think of the human aspect of this movie?
I'd have to say this is the first time. Well, this is probably my second time watching it as an adult. We watched it with the twins when they were like 5 or 6, and then watched it with Charlie this time at 7. So this is only my second time watching it as an adult. And the first time I was watching it with a really critical eye. So I would say this is the first time the acting, I noticed the acting. I'm not going to say that any of it is phenomenal, but none of it is like laughably bad to me. Like it was all
Right.
serviceable for what it was. And if that's nostalgic glasses, who knows? That's possible. I'm not sure on that one, but that's just how I was feeling.
It's no
what about
Home
you?
Alone 4 through 6.
That,
Right?
I was honestly going to make the exact same joke about Home Alone 4. I'm not even going to lie. What were you thinking?
I have a soft spot for this film, and again, probably a lot of it's nostalgia.
Yeah.
But I found a lot of it just hit on kind of some foundational growing up moments. And so I think for that, again, I love human interest pieces, so that kind of hit for me. Yeah, watching it now as an adult, I'm like, the acting was a little bit rough.
Yeah.
But I mean, young people, what can you do? And yeah, the animatronics, like I was impressed with how well it still held up.
Yeah. A lot of practical effect in this one.
You say young people, what could you do? Well, you could cast old people in the role of young people, I guess. But I mean, I don't want to
It'd
see
be real weird
AI
having an old
somebody
person
down
running
to
through the
age
school
of
and reading a book
7.
in the attic.
Yeah, I don't want them to AI somebody down to the age of 7. I think that would look creepy and weird. I don't like when they do the special effects of aging. I like a little makeup to show age difference or something, and that's about it. I felt like both Atreyu and Bastian had a lot of expression. They were really good at showing a variety of different expressions. Were they good actors? No, they weren't. They weren't good actors, but they had what it takes to grow up to be a good actor, and they had this nice range and everything. The only thing that really and so it was serviceable. It was okay for what it was, and it didn't bother me. It didn't take me out until they started crying. And there was a lot of crying in this movie. And it looked like they had milk tears, like real, literal, somebody spritzed their face with milk because their tears were white as they were crying. And then they did the Tobey Maguire ugly cry, which just ruins it for me. I just can't stand it.
Hey, I mean,
the tears of milk coming down their face. I was like, they're not crying. Somebody stepped on that kid's foot or something. Like, yeah. So the crying scenes really, I was just like, oh, that's terrible. But the rest of it was serviceable. It was okay. I don't like giving kids a pass simply because of their age. I think if you want to act, you got to have the chops, and it doesn't matter. I don't give you a pass on anything else. But for what we were watching, it was serviceable.
I would accept that a little bit more from you if you can point out a kid actor that you actually do like the acting chops of.
Yeah, I can't do that. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I mean,
I will say the movie does have a lot of tears, but most of them are from the audience. Like talking to people about this movie, the number one thing that most people point to is that the bog of sadness, the swamp of sadness, the swamp of sadness, and Atreyu and Atrix.
Yep.
Artax.
Thank you. That's why you're here. It's one of those key moments in like a lot of kids' lives, right? They're like Bambi's mother, where it just stands out. And I was shocked when I watched this time specifically. It's like 15 minutes into the movie. Like it is early. And I was like, I assumed it was really late and we had time to like get attached to this horse. No. It's like the second scene the horse is in.
My sister said the same thing. I was talking to her about it and she's like, that's the one where the horse dies in the swamp, right? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, that was really sad for me and I didn't want to watch it again.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? Like I sat there and watched it and I remember as a little kid, I was thinking it was a pretty sad scene. But me, I was like, just give the horse a treat. It'll cheer up and you can take him out of the swamp. And then the horse dies. How come he's not overwhelmed with sadness and sinks in the mud?
Okay.
This is the first time I thought of that.
Somebody missed.
Will's clearly got a point, and I'll let you get there.
Somebody's missed the plot.
I will let you get there, Will. I'll give you 1 second. This is the first time I thought of that because he is just sitting there looking at where his horse died, sitting in the mud, floating totally fine.
Overwhelmed with sadness.
Why aren't you sad? And Will, point us out. Why wasn't he sad?
Well, okay, let's start at the beginning. A treat would not have saved the horse, first thing. The horse had to succumb to sadness. The horse had succumbed to the sadness. There was no helping that horse. And if you've read the book, which I haven't, but I've heard a lot about the book because I really enjoy the movie, spoiler alert. In the book, the horse talks and tells Atreyu to leave him, that he can't go on anymore, and he doesn't want Atreyu to see him die, that he has succumbed to the sadness, and there is no saving him. Which I think if the horse
rocks, they couldn't give that horse some peanut butter and Mr. Ed his ass. That would have been way better. That would have been way better.
It would have been way more sad, I think, if they had done that. I think the scene was sad enough as is. But that said, I don't think there was any saving the horse, and that was fine. It made for a really tear-jerking scene, which is cool. And then I think there's like 2 reasons why Atreyu didn't succumb to the sadness at this point, because he does later. He does almost sink into the swamp until Falkor saves him, right? But I think it's the amulet that he's wearing, and that he is this renowned brave hero. And so I think he's got the qualities to keep going, even though he is saddened by his like one friend being destroyed in front of his very eyes with no hope of saving him. But anyway, I think it's a 2-pronged why he doesn't succumb at that point.
Strong enough to be sad, but not give in to sadness.
And
correct.
Also riding another white horse at the end of the movie. I don't know if that was supposed to be the same horse.
Same horse.
What? Same horse? Okay. We just got the horse back out of nowhere. All right.
We got everywhere. The whole world came back out of nowhere.
Did you not watch the movie? Bastion had limitless wishes, and he wished everything back into existence.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Oh my goodness. This is gonna be
sorry.
Brian, how many parts did you watch this movie in?
2 parts.
Okay.
Halfway through and then watch the other half.
All right, that's better
I
than
was a little rushed because I rented it for 48 hours and I was looking and I had 47 minutes left in the movie and 49 minutes left of the rental period. So I had to watch it. It was like, can't pause for a potty break. Gotta go through.
That's funny. That's funny.
Amazing.
All right, well, I'm worried about the rating on this one.
I was worried about this one before I even started. That's why I brought a ringer.
Okay, so we talked about the humans. There weren't very many of them, and their acting was passable, not amazing. There were a ton of other characters done up in a ton of makeup, and others that were animatronic, like Falkor. These were very memorable characters for me. I enjoyed all of them. I loved the variety. I liked the look of them. The animatronics were spot on. I mean, for its time, it looked really good a lot of the time. I was very happy with that. When he goes and meets the witch and the scientist at the gates, remember? Yep. Those are great characters. Those were such great characters. They reminded me of Miracle Max from The Princess Bride.
Yes, 100%.
Is who they reminded me of. And the wife, I believe, the witch, I believe she was the witch from Willow.
I think you're right. She was in Willow as well.
And she was amazing in Willow, and she played a great character here. I thought all of the side characters, whether they be animatronic, the big rock guy on the bike, all of them were just amazing, vivid, really memorable characters, and very much enjoyed them.
Yeah. This is the first time I really noticed that the characters you're talking about were supposed to be dwarven or smaller people, and they were doing that trick with the camera that they do in Lord of the Rings so well, where like one of them's a little bit further back, but they look like they're standing beside each other, so they look like there's a legitimate size difference that doesn't really exist. And the fact that I've been watching this movie, and this is the first time I really noticed that trick of the camera, kind of proves how well that actually worked in 1984. I know a lot of people praised Lord of the Rings in 2001, I believe. This did it just as well, or almost as well.
Yeah,
20-something years ahead of it. So I was really impressed with that once I noticed it. But
I agree. They did some great camera tricks and smart cuts to make that forced perspective really work. Even like when he's at the telescope, they cut right when the scientist goes back to the telescope, so you can't tell that it's a different telescope model of a varying size. So they did a really good job of on the detail of that. I agree.
Yeah. Now, as far as that couple goes, we were talking before the episode started, and you were mentioning like that's like I do a show called The Flicks That Make You Tick, where I get together people and like they can kind of choose movies from whatever they choose what that title means to them. And this is the first time that my wife Amy has said like I might be on that, and if I did, this movie might make that cut. Do you want to talk about this scene and what it kind of means to you?
Sure.
Put you on the spot.
Honestly, so there's a lot of different things I loved about this film. But one of the biggest takeaways that I had when I was little was in this particular scene, and the witch, when she's checking in on him and like, how are you feeling? He's like, oh, not too bad. Doesn't hurt too bad. She's like, good. It has to hurt if it's to heal. And something about that line really like cemented in me of like, oh yeah, that's so true. Like, if you scrape your knee, of course it's going to hurt while it heals. But like any obstacle you overcome, it's going to be tough. It's going to be painful, but you come out the other side of it. Like, you just have to kind of push through that pain and be stronger for it.
Yeah.
So that kind of really cemented in me through my whole life from that one little scene.
From a young age.
From a very young age. Yeah. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, this whole movie is that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the loss of the mother at the beginning.
Yeah.
And where Bastian's at and how his dad takes it compared to how he's taking it. And throughout the film, all the messages of depression and sadness and loss, and how, creativity and imagination, and how you can get through it by diving into storytelling and all of these things. It's incredible. It's
Right.
incredible. And even that if without the pain, it can't heal, is just like a very nice bow of like what this whole movie is talking about throughout.
Yeah,
And that's what's
totally.
beautiful about this movie. 100%.
Yeah. Well put.
Exactly.
Bring her on more often. She's got she knows what she's talking about.
It'll just quickly, like, she'll come in more and I'll just fade in.
Okay.
I'll just do the intro and just get out of here.
Now, okay, I was gonna ask, because we're always jumping around here, but Mrs. Monguli, Amy, right, and Dan, you said you watched this with your twins when they were 5 or 6 years old.
They were young. I don't remember what age, but they were young.
They're probably a little, maybe like 7-ish.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, yeah, because my son is currently 5, and I feel like the movie's just a little too dark for him at this age. But I do feel, and I know many, many people have passed this movie down to their younger, selves to keep this movie alive for as long as it's been alive, 40 some years, right? And I'm so looking forward to letting my son watch this, but I just feel like he's a little too young right now.
My 11-year-old watched this with me, and you could tell it was an emotional movie for him. Now, he's an emotional kid. He has very strong emotions and stuff. So I do have to be very careful with what I show him on television, because I didn't think he would have too hard a time with this, and he got through it, but he had a harder time than I expected. The horse dying right off the bat was huge for him. And I was like, oh, that's right. There's the horse scene. I didn't remember it so much, but I do remember it being a very impactful, dramatic scene for a young person to go through. And so, he started having a lot of emotional ups and downs with this. Fortunately, like I'm a child of divorce. I've lost people in my life. And at the times when I was growing up and saw this, I lost people and stuff. So there were things that I could relate to in this movie in a variety of ways of stuff that's hard to deal with and healing from. I'm hoping that I gave my son a good enough childhood so far that he has a little bit more trouble relating to the darker aspects of this movie. But anybody can pick up on the emotional cues that the characters are showing, that the main characters, the sub characters, all these people in this world that they're going through, anybody can relate to these themes, whether you've experienced that or not. And my son is proof of it, because he was vividly and emotionally attached to this film from start to finish.
That's awesome. And to me, I feel like this movie is very important for children to watch, because it does show ways to cope and to get through dark times, depressing times, traumatic events. And it's not sugar-coated, and it's not Disneyfied all that much. And so it feels so much more real.
Feels more real.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I really love that this movie has lived on as long as it has. And I feel like there's the reason because of that is because it is so real and so relatable. And so, you know what? If the acting isn't all the best, you're still drawn into this great story. It also, to me personally, makes me want to be a better reader because I don't read a whole lot. I'm not a bookworm. I wish I was, and this movie just makes me want to read stories. But I'm a visual learner, and I pull things in through video games and movies and that kind of content. So it just makes me want to watch more movies, really. But I wish I was a reader because this makes me want to read books because that's what it's all about, right?
We showed this to our kids again when they were like 7 or so. We both grew up with this. We've seen it a ton. When we watched it this time, we were showing it to our youngest, and she was pretty excited about it, or the fact that it was going to happen. Yeah. And the twins, they're like 13 now. They're like, I don't know if I want to watch this. So like they were playing on their laptops and tablets, but like there were large chunks of this movie where they were glued to the screen as well. So like we were watching this as a family. So yeah, the movie not only has a whole lot to say for a whole lot of different people and means a whole lot to a lot of people, but it's just entertaining for a lot, right? Like it just kind of grabs you and brings you into this fantastical world that we're creating. And it does it have flaws? Absolutely. Is the acting amazing? Not particularly. I don't want this to get remade ever. I don't think they could ever remake this, even with great actors, and make it as good as what it is, because it would just be a CGI fest. Yeah. Right? Like, and most of the charm of this is the practical effects, the puppetry, the makeup. Does Falkor look like a real thing? No, he does not. Would I want to change a thing about him? Not really. Like, he's kind of magical the way he is.
It also gets a pass because it is this fantastical world, right? It can be anything that we want it to be. And what it is fine because that's what the world is. And that's the beautiful thing about these 80s fantasy movies like Willow, NeverEnding Story, the list goes on. Labyrinth. Exactly. It's like these worlds are created in fantastical ways. So it's okay that it's like dated technology to create it. But it still feels real because it is real. They built these things.
They're actually legitimately interacting with them.
Yeah. Exactly. And that goes a long way compared to actors acting against a green screen, looking at nothing or dots on a person and imagining what they're talking to. It just has a different feel to it. And so I'm okay with it.
Brian, can you go ahead and pet that dragon right behind you real quick?
Yeah, make it believable though. Make it believable. See, look, he's way off.
I can't get it.
Make fun of a child actor now. Make fun of a child actor now.
Yeah.
So,
way to go, Bastion.
I love. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, when they put him in front of the green screen flying on the dragon, I was like, oh, welcome to the 90s, I guess. I don't know. Like, that's when the movie was terrible. This movie, it was Iliad and Odyssey. It was Sinbad. It was Lord of the Rings, epic, big, this world creation that I really loved. Everything was unique. When that rock monster rolls up on his tricycle and there's a dude riding a racing snail and another guy that flies underneath a bat, like, these are all unique characters that I've never seen before and have seen very few of them since because they're so imaginative and so creative. And it's amazing that you can have something so fantastically abstract and yet deal with emotional situations that are so incredibly relatable, and you put them into one film. And good acting or no, they pulled it off, and they made something that will just live through the ages. I mean, here I am, 43-year-old man talking about this movie that was made almost 2 years after I was born. And it's still classic to me. Nostalgic as heck, still classic, still a solid film. And I'm glad that I got to share this with at least one of my children.
I'm super happy the way this is going. I was really nervous that this is going to be something that I love from my childhood that like maybe Will hadn't seen, and Brian, there was too many kids, and it would just be like me fighting up against you guys or something. I'm loving that this is going the way it is.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with me. I have watched this movie so many times, and it's like a comfort movie for me. I asked Amy earlier, like, what's a go-to movie she could watch any day of the week? this movie I could put on any time, but I'm so like, it's such a like a comfort thing that I can just fall asleep at any time during this movie. So it was actually hard for me to like watch this movie in full because I was just like, I'm in my happy place. I can just relax.
This is my
and
warm
enjoy.
blanket.
It's like totally because it's just such a wonderful nostalgic piece, but also just so heartwarming as well. And it is just that's why I have trouble getting through the movie, not because it's bad, because it's just so good and it's so dear to me.
So I'm going to warn you guys, this movie isn't going to get as high a score from me as you think. I do think it's amazing. I do think it's an important film in cinema history. I think this is an important movie that we carry on its legacy. We pass this down to our kids and say, "Hey, look at this. This was huge back in the day, and I think you should check it out." But there were things that I maybe didn't enjoy as much as y'all, and man, it kind of held my score back a touch on this. I just didn't have as much fun with it because they do deal with a lot of depression, a lot of dark issues. And for most of the film, everybody in it is sad, confused, lost, hopeless. They're struggling throughout almost the entire film until the very last, like 5 minutes, do we ever have this triumphant, hooray, everything's great, happy ending moment. And so for me, Will talks about it puts him in his comfort zone and makes him able to fall asleep. For me, it makes me uncomfortable to watch, but I'm glued to it. I am glued to it, especially when we saw the 2 statues at the gate that Atreyu had to go through, because those boobies were really good-looking boobies. I know Dan didn't see them. Dan's going to say he didn't even notice.
No,
That's
I'm
fine.
going to say the opposite. One of my notes is, was it really necessary to put nipples on those things?
Yeah, they were. Those look like aftermarket. They were distracting for me. My son's like, "Is he gonna make it?" And I'm like, "Make what?"
What's happening?
Yeah, sorry.
See,
Back to the
but
story.
that's a great point right there, Brian. That's why this is a great kids movie, because you noticed that your
Right.
kid didn't even
No,
notice
clueless.
that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to him. Yeah,
One, it's unimportant. I mean,
Right.
nudity on screen, nudity in as a whole is like, for me, I think is blowing way out of proportion.
I agree.
We should
I think it's gonna
normalize
blow
it,
out of
all of
proportion, too.
this. And this movie, I think being a German film, didn't care as much
Right.
about that. So it's there. It is what it is. And kids don't even think twice about
Nope.
it because they're so invested in the story. Is he going to make it across this gate?
Yeah, my son was
So-
literally jumping up and down on the couch, going, "Run, make it, Atreyu!"
Mhm.
And I was sitting there going, "Really? I don't remember those statues."
Exactly.
I think you're mostly joking, but I'm going to go the opposite on that one. Like, these statues are right up there with the horse dying for me, where the yellow ones more so than the blue ones are such a huge part of this movie. They're not, but they were just one of those things I latched onto as a kid because I thought this scene was so
They look
cool.
huge, Dan.
Well,
they look huge.
You know what I mean? Like, for as far as the themes in the movie go, they might not make as much of an impact as other things. And even watching it this time, I could remember that obviously he lived, but I couldn't remember if the eyes shot and he dodged it, or if the eyes let him through because he was worthy. And it was really interesting to like still be surprised by this movie after having seen it so many times. Admittedly, not as much as Will has, but that was a fun factor. I was like, I don't remember exactly what happens here. Like, again, I know he lives, but like,
Right.
how? Like, is he worthy? Is he not worthy? But he tricks it. What's going to happen here?
And for me, one of the memorable characters, aside from the rock monster, which I've spoken of repeatedly, was the sneezing turtle. The sneezing turtle for me was incredible. I'm gonna turn my fan off there because my camera keeps shaking. The sneezing turtle for me was a super memorable moment. In fact, I was turning and just watching my son, waiting to see his reaction to the turtle coming out of the ground. You know, he was supposed to climb the mountain and find the guy at the mountain, and he didn't realize he was the mountain.
Mhm.
And I loved the look of that turtle, the way the eyes moved, how Atreyu had to keep grabbing onto the tree to get blown off. constantly repeating itself over and over, which would normally irritate me. But strangely enough, it just made that character that much more memorable for me. Will, what was one of your favorite characters or moments in the film?
I've got two characters. One you touched on, the rock biter. I love that character in this movie. I love the way he talks and what he talks about. One of my favorite lines in the movie. I've written so many notes about this movie, and I'm not even saying any of them because we're just chatting about the movie that we all just unanimously believe is a good movie for people to watch. But anyway, the rock biter line near the end of the movie where he's like, "They look like good, strong hands, don't they?" And he's just like so sad that he couldn't. He's like the strongest character we've ever seen in this movie, in this fantasy world, and even his hands aren't strong enough to save his dear friends. It's just so gut-wrenchingly sad, and getting that sadness from this big oversized rock puppet who's, you know, earlier in the movie chowing down and rocks are raining on his friends. Like, it's just so good. It's so good. So I really love that. And I do love Gamork, not as much for the puppetry itself, but some of the things he says at the end of the movie.
Can you just remind us which one Gamork is?
Gamork is the big wolf creature that's chasing him throughout. Yeah. But his big thing is people who have no hopes are easy to control. And whoever has the control has the power. And that still rings true today. Like, it's universal, like fear media, keeping poor uneducated so they don't know, you know, who to vote for or what to do. AI killing creativity for all of creative types. AI is just taking over, and that's run by big business corporations. Gamork is just talking about things that are happening here and now, and it was made 40 years ago. And that, to me, is incredible and sad.
What about you? I mean, you mentioned the doctor and his wife, or the witch and his whatever. Are there any other characters that really stand out for you?
I loved Morla, again, the turtle.
Mhm.
It was an interesting scene to me because there's such a focus on like the indifference and like nothing matters, it doesn't matter, and he's like, no, like there is things that are worth fighting for and you need to be passionate and persistent about, and he keeps getting knocked down literally and climbing back up, and like the symbolism in that particular scene, I really loved that.
Yeah.
I can't pinpoint what it is, but again, the oracles at the end, something about that, and not the physical features, but something about that test of your character, I guess. Yeah. I also really loved, and not so much of a character, but like that scene in general. Yeah, probably those two. I mean, Falcor's pretty cool, but
yeah, doesn't have a whole lot to do, really.
Yeah, not too much. It's interesting hearing what you said, Will, about Gamork, because I never really connected that as much, but that was a really interesting take. That was cool to hear.
Yeah. I watching it this time, paying attention to that scene, not only did I really enjoy it, but it was the first time that I was ever kind of like, oh, he's got a master, and we never really find out who that is or see that master in any way, shape, or form. It's just kind of, it's not really important. The point is what he's saying and how important and realist, how matter of fact, like it resonates. How much what he says resonates is the important part, not who his masters are. But like, he's working for somebody that we never really find out about. But I want to go back to something Will said earlier because it was so beautiful, and it's something that it hit me really hard this time. Is the rock? I hate calling him the rock monster, but I don't know his name.
Rock biter.
Thank you. The opening scene when we first see him, where he's like chewing on the rocks and they're breaking open and they're falling down on the cast, like that was such an, I'm going to say it's an unnecessary thing that they had to do there, but at the same time, it was so incredibly well done. It was so cool that they went out of their way to make that, like, when he's biting the rocks, they're breaking apart, crumbling, falling down him, landing near his friends. They're all dodging out of the way. Like, the amount that went into that scene was really cool that they went that extra distance. But it's not like he could have easily just like chucked a rock back, not have it spill all over the place. Would have been way easier for production design. But it added to the movie. It added to the overall feel of the world. It was really cool. And the scene at the end, you're talking about where he's just sitting there like sad, looking at his hands, just willing to give up to the nothingness. We talked about the fact that I've got 3 daughters. Longtime fans know, like, I've got messed up shoulders. My hands are already starting to get hit with arthritis a little bit. That scene hit, like, more so this time than any other scene at time, more so than the horse scene. Like, the idea of, like, I'm a big guy. I'm like 6'5", 300-ish pounds. And, like, the rock biter just sitting there being like, I couldn't do anything. Like, these look like strong hands. These look like I should have been able to protect my friends. And I couldn't. And he just has to live with that. And I'm getting emotional now talking about it, but like it was just very, very powerful for me.
It's got something for everybody at all levels. It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. Woo! So many good characters. I also shout out to the speed snail. Okay, the speed snail is super fun. All right, let's be honest. Give that guy a
We
treat.
did have that scene in the beginning though with the rock biter and the 2 little guy characters, because it gives you a connection to that world. You're getting to know these little characters and makes you draws you in, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everything they can do to make the world feel more lived in.
Yeah.
And it even carries a bit of misdirection too, because when you first come into it and you don't know anything about this film, you see these guys camped out and they seem pretty chill, and all of a sudden the earth starts shaking and there's this huge wheel of destruction coming their way, and they're like, ah! And then it turns into the rock biter, who's one of the most memorable characters in the film, and everybody loves him. And he's a hero, you know. I mean, he's a good guy. And so there's a lot of, like, you never know where they're going to go with this and how it's going to end up. What was the wolf's name? Gamork.
Mm-hmm.
I had trouble getting a beat on that character. He had lots to say, very important lessons to be learned and everything. But at the same time, you know, isn't he supposed to be kind of the weapon of destruction for the nothingness to come and stop Atreyu? And it almost felt like he didn't really maybe want to complete his job. Like he kept talking to Atreyu and giving lessons, and
he didn't know it was Atreyu.
Oh,
he didn't realize he was talking to his enemy.
Okay. Now that explains a lot. Okay,
there's multiple things there, and it's kind of wishy-washy though too, because obviously he's tracking Atreyu at the beginning. How is he tracking him? Through scent or something? How can he not tell that this kid is the same kid? But there's other things too that he says he's weakened as well by the end, and that he might, Atreus, before he knows who he is, might be the last person he can take down. So I think working with the nothingness to kill Atreus, but he's also realizing that the nothingness is also taking him, which is also like really interesting, that this death bringer for the nothingness is also being used up by the nothingness. Like nothing will take everything, including
everybody's gonna lose. And
exactly.
See, I didn't really see that as what the intention was, but it was something that I was like, okay, maybe this is the thing they're trying to show, is what you're saying. But I didn't feel like I'm not certain that's what they were going for.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I
like
got from it, but I'm not certain that's what we were supposed to get from it. But with that character, there were just some ups and downs that maybe I was missing some things and didn't make the right connections. I didn't realize that he didn't realize it was Atreyu or he was hunting him.
If I can jump in for 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe I have the timeline wrong on this. I believe he was hunting Atreyu. Atreyu goes to the swamp. His horse dies. He gets muddy and carried up. Falkor picks him up and flies him halfway across the world.
Yes.
And like at that point he loses him and kind of goes like, oh, he was swallowed up by the swamp. We know the horse was swallowed up, so it makes sense. So he kind of gives up and he kind of goes back to his lair and he's just like waiting at the end of the time for the nothing. Somebody shows up and he's like, hey man, like we all kind of fail at something. I failed at this kid. I was supposed to hunt Atreyu. And he's like, I'm Atreyu. He's like, oh, cool. I can succeed in my mission. I'm going to die. The nothingness is going to get me, but at least I can do this one thing right before I go. And that's why he kind of lunges at him, and Atreyu gets the jump on him with that small piece of glass. But
no, I don't think you're wrong.
leave a comment down below, I guess.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't mind that read at all. The only problem I think, and maybe this is maybe what Brian is talking about, is there's so much interesting stories being told throughout this journey that Atreyu is on, that Gamort kind of gets lost in the mix, and maybe
Yeah,
there's just
for
not
sure.
a strong enough presence of him throughout to really get the payoff at the end. And it doesn't help on top of that the fight at the end is him just jumping on Atreyu and he stabs him and it's over. Which I read about that might be because they had trouble with that big animatronic puppet and it almost poked the kid's eye out. So they just made it as simple and as clean as possible.
Well, as is, like, correct me if I'm wrong, you said you were pretty scared of that wolf as a kid, right?
I remember it being intimidating. Yeah.
Yeah, I know my
Those
brother
glowing green
mentioned that
eyes
too,
were
and, like,
pretty
at the end of the day, this
intense.
is a kid's movie. If
Pretty
you make
scary
that
for
wolf,
age.
you know, really going for that kid, go for the jugular, it might be a bit much. So they kind of have the
Yeah.
wolf lunge at him. I don't know if it fades to black or what happens, but you don't really see the action.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
kind of goes
Maybe
to
that was
black
a matter
and
of
then
like they did see what was going on and were just like, this is a bit
Yeah.
much, guys.
he rolls
mean,
him off him. Yeah.
That's a good point because Charlie's 7?
Yeah.
And that scene, she was good with a lot of it, but like seeing the blood, the fake blood after that, she was winced and turned away. That was a lot.
That was
It
the
was too
brute
much.
blood.
The gore. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Maybe you guys can help me understand something. I don't know why the princess needed a new name. What was the symbolism there? Why? What was this all about? I just didn't get it at all.
And to jump on that, they mentioned at one point, I thought, maybe I'm wrong, he was going to give her the name of his mother.
Right?
And then when he gives a new name, he screams out Moonchild. And I'm like, what kind of a
Moonchild, yeah.
hippie nonsense was his mom? Like,
Mhm.
maybe I missed something there, but I was just like, what? Like, I was supposed to be like, you know, Amelia or something. And I was like, Moonchild. I'm like, okay. Is that a legal name? Is that on her birth certificate?
Yeah, I didn't get any of that. I didn't understand. I didn't understand why she needed a name to overcome the sickness of the nothingness, or none of it made any sense to me at all. And that really bothered me at the end. That it was so convoluted that I could not even come up with my own reasoning for why this works. And that really made me troubled with this movie because I'm like, there's no logic thread for me to follow here. And maybe it was just deeper than the waters I normally swim at. We know I'm pretty shallow here, right? I'm the American who likes things that explode. And you know,
I mean,
I
one
just
of us
didn't quite
pointed out
get
the
it.
boobs in a kid's movie. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Okay. So I'll let Amy cover Brian's question and I'll cover Dan's question.
All right. So my take on that is kind of tying back into Bastian escaping to the bookstore, escaping his real world and all the hardships he's going through. He's escaping into this fantasy world, and through the fantasy, the nothingness is essentially lack of imagination. It's the the stages of adolescence and having to grow up and keep your feet on the ground and get your head in the game, and that shift away from being a kid and being free to create and imagine. And so towards, like, over the course of Atreyu's journey, the whole thing is to get the reader, this young person, hooked into this world and keep them creative, keep them inspired, and stay in touch with their inner child, so that by the end the kid is invested in balancing like their real world, but also still it's okay to still be creative and still be in touch with that side of you.
Yeah.
That
So
was my
so
take.
they wanted him, Bastian, to give a name to the princess. He chose his mother's name, or Moonchild. We're not really sure if that's his mother's name or not. But the idea is that the story needs the reader to then help create the story, right?
Continuing the never-ending
hence-
story.
Continuing the never-ending story.
The snakes
And
intertwined on the front of the book.
And it just so happens that the kid's got some real life issues involving his mother, and so that's the tie-in. He happened to, but it could have been like the story could have gone anywhere, and they could have been like, name this new race car, and he'd be like Fire Wheels, and they'd be like, sweet, and the story continues.
Well,
Okay.
he's also, by naming the main character, the ruler of the world, he's also making the story his own.
Okay.
Right? He's bringing a
for
piece
sure.
of himself into it.
Okay,
making it his own.
this all
and
makes
that kind of-
sense in a very theological way. I get it. I guess I get it. It just, I don't know. I needed Indiana Jones to like lift an object off a pedestal or something. Like I needed a thing to happen.
I mean,
Not
the
this
Oracle
whole
scene was kind of
quasi-
Indiana Jones-y.
Like spiritual theology. It's pretty tough for me, but it's
Yeah.
cool. It's cool. I'm I'm the minority of the group here on this one. I'll let it pass.
I
All
just
right.
I also really think the interesting part is that the Empress actually talks to Bastion, and not only that, talks to us, the audience, and actually breaks the fourth wall twice, right?
Right, yeah, I noticed that.
She breaks the fourth wall saying that the real world, Bastion's world, is involved in creating these stories and keeping them continuing, and he is the reason why Fantasia can be rebuilt, because a whole new story will be told, a never-ending story, right? It
And
continues
here we are
continues.
watching that
And
story
here
of
we are.
Bastion.
Yes, and he says there's somebody watching him as well, which is us, which is like so cool, because it's just the snakes intertwining over and over again. It's just like so cool for a kids movie to have such deep content and concepts, right? That you just don't see every day in a child's movie, and that's why I'm like, what is the perfect age? And I think it's like 8 to 10 is a good age for kids to be able to wrap their heads around a lot of this. But now going back to the mother's name, it's unclear, and there's a lot of debate online whether the mother's name is or is not Moonchild. But in the book, the mother's name is Moonchild. And again, the movies change things slightly, but that is the name he calls out. There's a couple of things being like, oh, maybe it was her nickname, or maybe, she was a very creative person, so that's what they called her. There's also a theory that I recently read in preparation for this, that Bastion kind of finds what he bases a true, what's his name, Atreyu on is like Native American indigenous people, right? Because he looks to the indigenous people hunting the buffalo. I can't remember where he sees the picture of that, and one other thing that he looks towards. And so there's a theory going on that his mother was perhaps indigenous, and so her name actually was Moonchild, or the meaning behind her name was Moonchild. And I thought that was a really interesting and creative way to think about it, that they could actually integrate it, and it actually makes a lot of sense that it could be Moonchild without it being like, oh, is she a hippie from the 60s? So I really kind of like that take, whether that's the take or not, because the book doesn't really divulge any of that information either.
Now, none of us have read the book, correct?
I have not, but we do know that this movie is only like the first half of the book.
Sure. Okay.
And they changed the ending, obviously, so it had a closing point.
Yeah. My understanding, just to go against your point a little bit, and I apologize,
sure.
is
go ahead.
In the book, and apparently they tried to do it, Atreyu is actually green.
Yes, green and
not
blue
necessarily
hair.
indigenous. And they tried to do the makeup, and it just looked awful. And they're just like, no, scrap it.
Yeah.
So that was just an interesting tidbit that I just read today. I was like, oh, that would have been a very different movie.
100%. But I mean, that said, he still talks about hunting the blue buffalo in the movie and things like that. So I think the indigenous roots could still kind of be prevalent. But you're right. He was supposed to be, because none of these are human, right? They need a human child. Yeah. He's not human. So it made sense that he was a kind of a green person. Everybody looks different. But anyway, lots of interesting theory and things going on about why things are the way they are in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Jamie, have anything more where they want to get out before we go to the ratings?
Dude, there's so much. I've got like 2 pages.
This could be a 2-parter. I was like,
okay. So go ahead. Go ahead, Brian.
I wasn't the hugest fan of Falcor, to tell you the truth. I kind of thought he swooped in out of left field with no illusion to him whatsoever. And it went beyond luck for me, though. It was just straight up, just mystical nonsense. They're like, oh, hey, let's just save him. We'll just bring in a new character and save him. And that kind of irked me. If there would have been some sort of foreshadowing of the dragon, just somebody happens to mention that luck dragons are a thing earlier in the story. That would have been enough.
Right.
But out of nowhere, we get introduced to Luck Dragon and he comes in and saves them.
So again,
And-
in the book, it's different.
Yeah.
Atreyu actually saves the luck dragon from like a giant spider in the, by the swamp.
See, that would have been cool.
And they tried to do that, but it was like way beyond their budget. They couldn't make it work with what the cost of making it work.
He pretty much just lays there the entire movie.
All right, so it's an unfortunate they don't have a way to write him into the script smooth and cool, so they just did this. Okay, it's still it sucks they couldn't pull it off. I'm not gonna let it go. That's a ding. But also, why didn't the dragon just fly him over the statues to the other side? Right? It's not like a cave or anything. Just
past the gates.
Walk around them. Like, why?
I think it's a fantasy thing, Brian. For the most part, it's like you need the trials and tribulations in order to pass, right?
Sure.
So in any type of movie like this, they could be like, oh, I can just bypass it, and you could watch them walk around and end up right at the same spot.
In Crusaders, Jones went down a tunnel and had to pass the 3 trials, right? He couldn't skip them any way he wanted to. Made sense to me. This one, I was just like,
that's
the
based in
dragon
reality,
just flew you 10,000 miles and then sets you down on the wrong side of this gate.
He said specifically 9,862 miles, actually.
Right,
so.
yeah. Quit shortchanging Atreyu, take him the extra 12 miles and put him on the other side of that fence so the boy doesn't get eye blasted by the booby statues.
I think the other reason, one, Indiana Jones is based in reality, so that's one thing. This is fantasy. The other thing is, it's not about why Atreyu has to do it, more than Atreyu has to do it because Bastian has to see it happen.
Okay, that's a good point. I like that.
He has to see Atreyu's confidence because he is Atreyu, right?
And he has to get attached and he has to be shouting, run, Atreyu, run. And he has to get involved. He has to want it. That makes sense. I get it. That makes sense. I just wish it was the opening to a cave so that there's more reason why the dragon didn't just fly him to the other side. It's little things. There were a couple of these little plot holes that just kind of bothered me a little bit. But it's a kids movie, and the kids aren't going to be thinking about that. You're right. It's the point of the story. Us, the viewer, Bastian, the reader, Atreyu, the character. I get it. I get it.
That being said,
I liked the witch and the scientist, and that's all I really have to say. I think I've covered everything I want to say.
Nice.
That being said, though, Atreyu kind of didn't pass, though, right? Like they did try to kill him. He wasn't worthy.
I know. He dove out of the way of those laser blasts.
Yeah,
he survived, but he wasn't worthy.
Yeah, it was an odd choice to have them fire altogether. I think it was more just for dramatic effect than anything. Maybe they always fire. Nobody's ever passed it, which is also funny. They say nobody's ever gotten past that, but they know what that is at the second gate as well. So it's like, how do they know if nobody's passed the first gate?
Well, they flew over the first gate and saw the second gate. They're like, oh yeah, that.
Exactly. So it's all like wishy-washy, but it's like as long as you're invested, it's all good, right?
Yeah.
All right, Amy, what else do you have to say about this movie? Anything else that comes to mind? I'll put you right on the spot where you love to be.
Right on the spot. I love it. There's a scene at the beginning that I really liked. I don't know if I read too much into things, but it was
that's what the show's all about.
Excellent. It was the scene where the I forget what he's called. The
Rockbiter.
No, the one that's speaking on behalf of the Empress. He's like the
caregiver.
caregiver.
The speaker. Okay.
Yeah, the speaker.
That's not his name, but sure.
Yeah.
Bishop or something, the emissary guy.
Yeah, that guy. He comes out and he's talking to everybody, and we've called for this warrior, and then Atreyu shows up and he's like, okay, I'm here. And he's like so quick to dismiss. And was like, you're just a kid. Like, what can you do?
Yeah.
And I
think
need
a warrior.
Yeah. And I think as a young person watching that, you really connect with that moment of like,
don't dismiss me.
Yeah, don't be so quick to dismiss a person. You want to
Absolutely.
that ability to believe in oneself. And he's like, that's fine. Okay, I'm out. You asked for my help.
You need me.
Yeah.
I didn't ask to be here.
And I thought that was a really cool scene. I thought it was a really neat touch that they added into that.
Nice.
Now that you mention that, I did like that scene. I like the way that Atreyu didn't even bother to be offended by it. He's just like, I know my worth, and if you don't want me here, peace out. I'm gone. And then they were backtracking. And I wish I had that conviction in myself when I was a younger person, because I hated being dismissed because of my age. I grew up working in an industry of old men, and I was a young man, and people dismissed me immediately, and it hurt. But Atreyu didn't even phase him, and they turned right around because they were like, "Oh, wait, hold on, we need you to save our lives." Yeah, no, that was good.
That when you're phrasing it that way, because then it ties into the end with the Oracle, because he does start out so self-assured and so confident, and he's going through all these trials and tribulations, and he's starting to have doubts, and he's starting to think like, maybe I can't find the answer. And so he's getting to the Oracle, and he's like, no, I know my worth. But then he's starting to have that hesitation, and that's where they fire at him. Like, I think that's,
I mean, realistically, he kind of fails all the way along. Yeah. Like, he loses his horse right away. He finds the turtle and talks to her. She doesn't really give him any help.
But he's determined.
He has to get carried the entire way to the Oracle. The
but
Oracle
Dan,
takes a shot at
he's
him.
not failing. He's stumbling. He's stumbling repeatedly, and he continues forward in his effort, even though he's constantly being bombarded by doubt and fear and stress, anxiety, all sorts of these horrible emotions that are constantly being introduced into children's lives. And he continues to move forward, even though he keeps stumbling. And because of that, he gives Bastian the courage to step up and become a part of the story as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. Brian did get it. Yeah. Brian did get the memo. Oh my!
For my friends, I was able to figure it out, and I mean that literally, not metaphorically, because I was very clean and sober for this movie. I needed to pay attention.
I would have loved it if that all had worked out exactly perfectly, and at the end of it, he confronted the bullies or did something to the bullies that wasn't a luck dragon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That was a little weird for me. Like, okay, so you have wishes in this book, but now you have wishes in real life. Can you get your mom back? Like, how far do these wishes go? Are these like Aladdin genie wishes, or what are we talking here?
And you know about Falkor, I didn't like the look of Falkor. His scales looked like watery, like, I don't know, they look gross. The scales on him look gross. Yeah. And it was very distracting to me. He's supposed to be this big cuddly dragon you want to scratch behind the ears, but I kept thinking, like, are those eggs on your chest? Like, what is that? That's gross.
I like dog face. Like, I liked the look of that, and the rest of the body kind of creeped me out a little bit.
The expressions on the dog's face was all of the animatronics were so good. The wolf whose name I can't remember, Gormick or whatever his name, the Falkor. All the animatronics were just top notch in this. Even the flying bat was so adorable, man.
He's just so dopey.
Yeah. He's good. Okay, so I've got so many things to say. I'm going to try and make it really quick. There's like that scene where Atreyu's coming up and being like, "Hey, I'm the guy you need," and they're like, "No." And if you like freeze frame the big far back wide angle of all the people, there's like little shout outs to like Yoda silhouette there. There's like a Gumby silhouette. Apparently there's a Mickey Mouse. I couldn't find Mickey Mouse. But others as well, like Ewoks, all of these fun, fantastical characters from other movies are in that group scene, which I thought was really fun and a cool nod. E.T., which brings me to something Dan will love and hate. Steven Spielberg worked on this movie. I don't know if y'all are aware of that. There's two versions of this movie. There was the German release, and then a few months later was the international release. And Steven Spielberg, Wolfgang Peterson are friends. They're friends. And so he asked Spielberg to take a look and edit this and make it appeal to a wider audience, like the international audience that Spielberg, kind of knocked out of the park. He knew how to make those movies, right? So that introduced the synth 80s music with the title song. He cut 7 minutes out for pacing because, us Americans, North Americans, we like a quicker pace. So there's all these things that Steven Spielberg helped with in this movie for its release in America, and I thought that was a notable thing. And the Orin, the snake charm thing, is actually still in Steven Spielberg's office. He's got it encased in glass in his office. It was a gift from Wolfgang after helping him with the movie. So I thought that was very cool. And I would also be remiss to shout out David Fincher, who also worked on this movie. At the time, he was working in special effects with Industrial Light and Magic. And we obviously have talked about him in his directing with Alien 3. So I thought I'd throw that in. This was before he started directing music videos. So that was a fun little point out. And then, of course, I can't not, Dan. Clean's Canadian shout out.
Oh, give me a second.
Oh.
Clean's Canadian shout out. Get here. Oh, wrong guy. that works. This movie is a German movie. Everything was filmed in Germany except for the real life portions with Bastian and, the real life parts. That was all filmed in Vancouver, British Columbia. And so, all the background actors in all of those scenes would have been Canadian, not the main actors, more or less not so. They're all mostly US. But there is one bully number one, that is chasing him and throwing him in the dumpster. He was a Canadian actor as well. He doesn't act anymore. He did some TV stuff throughout, but now I think he actually is the director of a organization against anti-bullying, which is pretty funny because he was a bully in this, and I think he was a bully in It when the TV movie or TV series, limited series was out. He was a bully in that. So now he's anti-bullying, which is pretty fun. Anyway, that's Clean's Canadian Corner. Representing Vancouver.
Love it. I love everything about it. I thought there were some things in this movie that were so obviously of their time. And one of the ones I made mention of is the way that the adults talked to the kids in this movie.
Yeah.
Like the dad is straight up talking to his kid. I don't know. Does it mention how long ago his mother passed away? It makes it sound like it was fairly recently.
Yeah.
And his dad is just like over a glass of egg talking to his kid about like, you got to get over it. It's time to put your feet back on the ground and just like suck it up and move on. And then he's getting bullied on his way to school and he runs into this building, like hoping to save his life kind of a thing. And the bookstore owner is like, well, why didn't you just throw a punch back at them? I'm just like, man, these are not the kind of things you generally tell kids in 2025, but would probably be exactly what you'd say back then. But it's just that like, oh, your mom just died? Suck it up, son. Just like, ooh,
Get on with
don't love that, but okay.
I actually really... Oh, go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say, speaking of the bookstore owner, I did like how that bookstore owner set Bastian up to steal that book. 100%. Like, knew the buttons to push, leave it out in the open. And when Bastian stole the book, I think the only surprise there was that Bastian left a note that said he'd bring it back. But that bookstore owner 100% wanted him to take that book.
I mean, he hid it so well under that envelope.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
clearly no kid would be able to find that.
Exactly. In sight of the child.
Yeah.
So I was going to mention that I actually really liked the father depiction in this movie. It's very brief. Obviously, it's like the first 2 minutes of the movie and he's gone through the rest. But you mentioned he had the egg orange juice concoction, which was a common thing in the 80s as a hangover cure, or a quick breakfast because it gave you a protein kick in the morning to get your day on, and vitamin C. So I feel like the dad was really well executed in a way of like, hey, the only way to get past this is to pick up your bootstraps and just work. Focus on other things, work through it, and move on. So you need to go to school. You need to get that math grade up. You got to do this and that. And that's the way. That's the only way he knew how to talk to his son about this, right? And I thought that was really interesting. And growing up when I did, felt very reminiscent of my dad. So I was all for it. And I don't think he was like brutal on his son. I don't think he was mean to his son.
No,
he
he
just
even had
he
good
did
things to say at the end of that conversation for his son. He did.
exactly. He
you
thought it
know?
was a good conversation, even though he doesn't have the first clue how to help his son in reality, right?
Yeah.
But
I-
it came
That's
across
that's
so
the father
genuine
figure
for
I
me.
grew up with too. Is that same thing? Means very well, not being hurtful, but does not understand how to integrate emotionally with someone on that level.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I will point out I wasn't necessarily being critical of the father, so much saying
No.
like it's interesting the difference between the generations, right?
Right.
Like
How
that
much knowledge we
generation
have now.
didn't know how to deal with that. I had no idea about the hangover juice, but that's actually kind of a brilliant, subtle touch. Because again, kids would never pick up on that. You
Mhm.
did, I will in the future now. Like, oh, like he's dealing with this the best he can in his own way.
Yeah.
Doesn't really know how to handle the kid. Doesn't really
Is
know what's
probably
going on.
drinking at night and then
Yeah,
having the remedy in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
So many
wasn't
things in this
critiquing
movie.
what you said. It was just like I just wanted to like note that I really enjoyed that interaction. How short it was with how much kind of was behind it, and that was one of the things that the German original release had, which was different than the American release that we all watched. There was like 20 seconds when Bastian was just sitting in bed, just staring out at nothing before he actually gets up and gets moving. And then after the conversation with his dad, there's like 20 seconds of him just sitting there, not even eating, just sitting there staring. And it's just like really amplifies like his retreat into himself and like his despair about his mom and all of this. And I think it's really heavier. Whereas in the international release, it's shorter. They're trying to make that pace move, which makes sense. But I kind of would have liked a little bit more to get that lingering, like, oh, this kid's really in it, you know? Yeah. Anyway, there's like just those kind of things that are different, but interesting. And how can we not talk about the amazing title song that lives on forever in our?
Everybody knows.
I've been singing it for the last week since we
I
mentioned this movie.
I stopped and showed my kid Stranger Things when they do the recitation of the song in Stranger Things. And then now my son's like, I want to watch Stranger Things. And I'm like, oh, let's wait till you're like 15.
Yeah. You can make it a 12 or 13 maybe.
It's one of those things like in my notes I was saying like I love the theme song, but it's so incredibly 80s. It's not something that I like listen to. I've said before, like I'll sometimes put movie soundtracks on at work because it's something that like it's cool to listen to, but there's no words to distract you. Something like The NeverEnding Story is not something that's in my playlist, but it's such an iconic song. And I kind of wonder, like, for the newer generation, like how many people think of it because of Stranger Things more so than because of The NeverEnding Story. Even when I was watching the movie 2 nights ago, I was kind of getting flashbacks to like, because it's a montage in Stranger Things. I was kind of thinking about that while listening to it. I'm like, is this like, obviously this is classic because of this movie, but like, is it kind of getting, is it in the cultural zeitgeist now because of this movie still, or because of Stranger Things?
I think it has dual appearance. People of our age recognize why that scene in Stranger Things is so amazing because we grew up with the NeverEnding Story. If we didn't exist to shed a tear for that scene in Stranger Things, then our kids wouldn't find that scene that amazing. It would just be a musical scene in their show.
Yeah. And I think what happened was, rentals and sales for NeverEnding Story rocketed after it was in Stranger Things, right? Because it brought it all just back to people who have seen it, and now they're wanting to watch it again or share it with other people that haven't. Exactly.
And that's why I had to pay $4 to rent it instead of watching it for free on the Roku channel.
Well, you should be smart like the rest of us and just own it because it's a classic.
You know, I did think about that actually, but I was like, I'm going to watch it and see how this goes and see if I want to own it or not. And I probably should have just bought it because it's good. It's solid. It's definitely a winner.
Okay, I got through most of my stuff. Should we rate this thing? It's going long now.
Yeah, we're at the hour and a half mark. I think this is probably
my apologies.
A good time to go.
Our talk about the movie is longer than the movie itself.
It's getting there. There's so much to unpack. There's so much to unpack.
There's a lot.
All right, Brian, we're gonna throw to you first.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna jump in this because I have a feeling I'm gonna be the lower end score, and the reason that my score is, I'm guessing, coming in lower than everybody else's because simply I do enjoy watching movies that deal with things like depression, but they're not fun for me to watch because am a person who dealt with depression a lot. I don't want to get into it, but I watch those movies, films, TV shows, and stuff that deal with these issues, and I very much take them to heart, and they're hard for me to get through because I can find attachment to them in so many ways. And this movie especially, I can find attachment to every single scene. I can relate in some way to everything, even when it's so abstract, I don't even understand what's going on, I still feel it. And for me, much like Sunshine of the Eternal Spotless Mind or whatever, I can't butcher that title. It's hard for me to get through, and it's not so much fun. And that brought down my fun score for the film. In every other area, this is a stellar film. Acting, it's passable, but the character depth is so amazing that I don't mind the 3 or 4 not so great actors. Still, they had the chops to produce a wide range of emotion, and that's what was needed for these roles. But not a stellar performance. But the amount of characters that are so unforgettable just completely pulls you away from any kind of bad acting whatsoever, and such great lines and moments delivered by those sub characters really makes it astounding. Overall, I gave this movie a 77 out of 100. I think it is definitely something that needs to be shared with others. I think a lot of other people are going to enjoy it more than I did. I just have trouble with such dark topics that this film deals with throughout its length.
I'm not gonna lie, that was way higher than I was anticipating you scoring it.
I mean, it's a good movie. It's hard not to
I
rate it lower.
completely agree. I was before we started the conversation, I was talking to the chat, and I was just really nervous that the child actors were going to tank this for Brian.
Right. That's fair. That's fair.
No, honestly, they weren't that bad. They weren't good by any means, but they weren't so bad that they took it out. The only time that their acting took me out of the film was when they were crying. And it was mostly because they put on those fake teardrops on the kids' faces that just looked like milk was running down their faces, and then they didn't do a good job of crying. And that took me out. Every other scene, I was like, it's passable. I'm fine. Good.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go next, and then you can do your little piece. And Amy's score won't factor in the same way Bubba Hotep's score didn't really factor into the R rating board. That'll still just be Brian, Will, and I. But we'll hear her final thoughts and what she has to say about it. So
love it.
Sounds good.
All right. For me, as you know, I rate these movies into 5 different categories, kind of give them a score and go from there. As far as the sound design goes in this movie, the music is absolutely brilliant. Not only the opening theme, but even just the themes throughout the story are really, really well done. The fact that we talked a lot about the puppetry and the practical effects, but even like every different character has a very different voice style. It all feels very lived in. It doesn't look realistic by 2025 standards, but it looks good. It sounds good. The cinematography in this one is kind of insane to me for 1984 for a kids movie. It looks incredible. We didn't touch once on the storms in this movie. The main protagonist or antagonist, if you want, is just the nothing. It's just a storm that's following them everywhere. And some of the scenes in this, I'm not entirely sure how they filmed them. I know the camera trick that they did with some of the bigger storms, but like when there's actually stuff blowing around and like Atreyu's kind of blowing off in the wind, it looks really good. All the makeup looks great. The characters look good. Falkor, you're right, he kind of looks a little gross, but the dog face of him looks really, really good. The cinematography for me was kind of just next level. And let's not forget, this is a 1980s movie, so it had to have blue lightning in there, and I loved to see it. Highlander lives on. The acting in this is obviously the weak point for me. I agree with Brian. It never was bad enough to really, really take me out. There's one line from Bastion that I don't know if it was the writing or his delivery, but when he's refusing to give her a name, and he's like, I can't give her a name. I've got to keep my feet on the ground. And I was like, okay, sure. But other than that, like Atreyu, I thought did fairly well. The Empress, I thought did pretty well. it was the lowest point of the movie, but it's the low point because everything is so good except for that. The plot, as we talked about, there's so many elements that you can take away from this. Everybody left here with a little bit of a different take about what was going on. And there's so many parts that, like Will brought up, that I had never noticed before, that I legitimately, I'm kind of excited to go back and watch this again sometime. Not necessarily tomorrow, but at some point, and see what else I can pick up on, or pick up on the stuff that he's talking about. My entertainment is the wonky one for me, because this is not a comfort movie for me the way that it is for Will, but I also didn't have the upbringing that Brian did, so the depression of this one doesn't really hit me. It's just not something I'm likely to put on very often. But when I put it on, I did enjoy it, and I can't take away from the fact that my teenage girls kind of stopped what they were doing to watch this. My wife actually joined me, not only to talk about the episode, but to actually watch the movie with me. My youngest was engaged all the way through and desperately wanted to watch the second one. I was like, wait until after Thursday. So, like, this movie hit all of us, like young age, teenage, adult, everybody. And it's 40 something years old, 41 years old at this point. That's kind of magical. Like, it's hard to find a movie that old that really does that, and it does it expertly. My score is not as higher than Brian's as I thought it was going to be. I gave this an 83, which feels pretty good. But anyways, Amy, you want to give us your take?
You guys have hit a lot of the points that I would share as well. Like, I think the human elements of it are just captivating, and everybody can find something to relate to. I agree. There's moments where it was getting a little bit, it was straying from that, and it was hitting more of that fantasy realm where now he's flying a luck dragon in the middle of downtown.
Yeah.
That was weird. And when it gets into those elements, it starts to lose me a bit. I agree about Falkor. He always looked, like eggs were laying on his back. Like, it just was something creepy about that. But again, the animatronics, the expression, the nature of him was really cool. And like that best friend that he was kind of needing through all this darkness, it was a little bit uplifting. I would land around an 85 on this one. Again, there's a lot of moments that you can really draw. And I found, as much as it was dark, I found a lot of strength from it. And I drew a lot of positives and like character building, strengthening moments from it.
Nice.
So, yeah, 85.
Very cool. Will, it leaves you.
So I'm torn because I really want to read the book because it's supposed to be better than the movie. But I also really don't want to read the book because the author, Michael Ende, he gave the rights to make the movie, sold the rights for the movie, and then he was on board to be a script advisor throughout. And then he got really miffed because they were changing elements. He didn't like it. He hated the Sphinx statues. The ending doesn't make any sense because that's not in the book at all. And then he actually tried to shut this movie down and took it to court, sued the production company. It failed because he had already legally given over the rights. Not only that, it was like the biggest production Germany had ever seen at that point, and the jobs and employment, it was all good things all around, except for this guy hated it. And to this, well, he's passed now, but he hated it forever. Wanted nothing to do with any production of this movie ever since, or anything. So that makes me not want to read the book as much. And that's fine. I'd still want to read it, I think, because it's supposed to be really good. That said, this is a classic. Nostalgia, yes. I think there is some nostalgia within this for all of us. We're all of the age where when this came out, we were the right age to just take this in and run with it. Is it going to be as lasting for our children? I don't know. I hope so. I hope that this can be a never-ending story. I'm just talking about all these other things because y'all have covered everything else that we've talked about throughout. So I've got nothing better to add. So with that, I'll give my rating. This is a solid 80 movie. I think this is an unmissable watch. I think it is more important to watch this with your kids because it takes on subjects and concepts that not a lot of movies do with not a lot of sugarcoating. And I think it's done so well that it can get away with it. and actually makes the message stronger. And whether you've dealt with those traumatic incidences or not as a child, you will. And I think this helps prepare people for those times, which is crazy to think about. A film, art, being able to help people. And this is 40 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, we didn't even recognize post-depression syndrome or anything. Like it's so crazy how ahead of its time this is. And so I think it is required viewing. It should be required viewing for everybody. 80%. It's got its ups and downs, production-wise, acting-wise, but it is an incredible message that needs to be told.
You're here.
Well said.
So, just for you guys, I pieced together a short list of child actors that I do like, or I should say I did like. A lot of these actors grew up and continued acting, and I don't really appreciate them as much as adult actors. First and foremost would be Drew Barrymore. As a child actor, I thought she was phenomenal. I can't watch anything she stars in as an adult. I think she's horrible. I do not like watching her movies at all anymore. But as a child, she was amazing. I like both Dakota and Ellie Fanning. I think the Fannings are amazing. Absolutely amazing. Shirley Temple, believe it or not, I think there's a reason we all know that name. I do like Macaulay Culkin in The Good Son, not so much Home Alone. He was adequate for what Home Alone needed, right? He didn't need to be a dramatic actor, right? No. But in The Good Son, he showed some chops there. And when he did make his return to acting for some small bits or something, I seen him in something not too long ago. I was like, oh, that's cool. It's good to see he's still got some skill. And then I liked Elijah Wood when he was much younger. Not terrible now. I wouldn't say I don't like him now, but I liked him better as a child actor. So just to show that I do care about child actors.
I do want to touch on something Will said during his thing. I usually let like the closing thoughts I allow to be your closing thoughts. I don't want to interrupt you.
Oh, sure.
But you were talking about how the author hated this production.
Yeah.
In fairness, Stephen King is one of my favorite authors of all time. He hated everything about Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, and that movie is an absolute classic. That book is an absolute amazing book. They are not the same, but they are both pieces of art that both deserve to exist. So the book, NeverEnding Story, could be incredible. The movie can be incredible, and they can not be connected, and that's totally fine.
I agree, and I think that's the problem, though, is that I think the writers need to understand that, right? That the movie media, a film media, is a different beast, and you have to make changes in order to make it work. Mm-hmm. But if the core concept is lost to you, I guess there's no hope. But I think you just have to let it live its separate life, right?
And maybe this is for after our discussion, but how many times have you seen a movie that was identical to the book? I can think of one. I can think of one, and that's Fight Club. Fight Club is identical to the book. They chop a few tiny bits out of it, but they change nothing. Right. Other than that, every time you make a book into a movie, you make changes because you have to adjust for your audience, and you have to adjust for the way that story is portrayed because of the way we make film.
Yeah, and the time sometimes too, right?
You're right. Yeah, if it's an older story and you make it into a new one, take a look at every Dracula movie that's ever been made. For the love of God, stop making those movies because you lost touch with the whole core. You know,
there's so many times where people are like, "Oh, the book is better," and the book is better, and like, yeah, maybe it always is. I don't agree with that necessarily, but there are times where the book is excellent, the movie is excellent, and they're not the same thing, and that's fine. The one that obviously I just mentioned The Shining. We talked about Jurassic Park already. I love both the book and the movie.
Very different. Yeah.
But First Blood is another one. I read the book a couple of years ago. Incredible book. I love the movie. Vastly different.
Right. I think the remake of True Grit that the Coen brothers did was supposed to be much closer to the book as well than the original True Grit.
Same thing with the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The remake with
Right.
Johnny Depp is supposed to be much more accurate to the book. I am a fan of the original. I did not like the Johnny Depp one, and I'm a huge Depp fan. I think he's fantastic. Such a breadth of characters that he portrays. But
Shout out to Deep Roy. Shout out to Deep Roy, who played Teeny Weeny in The NeverEnding Story, who was also the whatever you call them, munchkins and the
Oompa Loompas?
Oompa Loompas in the new Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Same guy.
All right.
All right, Dan,
so
you got our list? You gonna show us?
I can't wait to show you this, guys.
It's gonna be up there, and it's gonna plummet.
Yeah, it's gonna plummet for sure.
It turns out, why is that so big? Go.
What? Top of the charts?
The Never-Ending Story,
which we're gonna wish ends after the sequel.
It absolutely should have. Yeah.
Why is this looking so awful?
I don't know. You don't have the big screen on it.
But it's taking up like way. Anyways, whatever. Normally, this would only be like half the screen. I don't know why it's taking up as much as it is. Yes, Dollars Trilogy got dethroned instantly.
Well,
but I'm sure it'll be back on top pretty fast.
Yeah, for 1 week, 1 week only.
Well, and I could have put it underneath it, but no. I think it gets its time in the sun.
You gotta give it its time. You gotta give it its time. Absolutely. It's never gonna be this high ever again. So.
Oh no! No! It will not. I'm imagining by the end of this is going to be in like Venom Anchorman territory. I've only looked at the IMDb ratings, and it goes from like a 7.3 to a 5.5 to like a 2. So like, strap in, boys.
Oh man.
We knew this was coming, though. We knew this was coming.
Oh, yeah. No. I mean, the fact that none of us even heard of the third movie, not a great sign.
Yeah. I actually thought you guys were going to be giving it a slightly higher score, closer to 90 rather than 80.
I'm not gonna lie, my score went up a little bit during our conversation. Will brought out some really interesting points that I really liked.
As well, my score did as well. Like I said, it's a hard movie for me to watch. Not a bad movie. Yeah. And I'm not even saying that it's not good. It's just hard for me to watch. It doesn't put me into the comfort zone. It makes me deal with emotions and stuff that I've either dealt with and don't feel I need to deal with them again, or, which is probably the same thing, have suppressed and don't want to deal with. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you've mentioned that before, Brian, with other movies that like deal with these heavy subjects that you're not comfortable watching them because they are so important, but also
a lot of times the reason we watch movies is to escape reality, right? Mm-hmm. You know, and that's one reason why sometimes movies are preferable to books. We were talking about that earlier about books or movies. We watch a movie because you can easily digest a movie in 2, maybe 3 hours for a long one, where a book, you have to work at it. And especially for somebody like myself who has trouble reading, it's hard for me to get through books. I do love reading books, though. And I doubt I'll pick up the NeverEnding Story, but those are some very interesting topics that you brought up, Will, about the author of the story and where this is all going. So. Cool.
If you end up reading it, Will, you have to give me the recap.
What's that?
If you end up reading it, you have to give me the recap.
Oh, absolutely. It would be my pleasure. All right, Dan, do you have like an outro thing you want to do before I thank Amy for being here?
Hey, Dan, you better watch out, or pretty soon your wife's going to start up our reading with her and Will. And it's going to be the book version of this.
Hey, as long as it's on the Monguli show, I don't give a shit. Do what you got to do. Get me paid.
Just give me the clicks. I'll sell out.
I think your wife's way smarter than to name any channel the Monguli anything. So
she's not too smart that she married me. So she's very intelligent, poor decision making. Just throwing it out there.
Fair. Well, I'll just say it was a pleasure having you, Amy, and I thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
having me, guys. That was fun.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much for just
Thanks
like
for coming
jumping out of your comfort zone a little bit, because you brought some great elements to the discussion, and I appreciate it greatly.
Absolutely, Amy. I hope
And
you
you're
come back and
Yeah,
join us
welcome
again.
back. Welcome
Yeah.
back anytime to get a little glare off the screen from Dan's bald head. I will take it in a heartbeat.
Go fuck yourself, Will. I mean, now that I know that she's somewhat willing to be on the channel, I'm definitely gonna be pushing to do a flicks that make you tick with her.
See. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would love to hear those movies as well.
All right.
There we go.
Can you do me a super quick favor?
And get the hell out of here.
Not at all. Can you read this?
Why, yes, Sam Raimi is better than Kevin Smith.
Appreciate you. Hotep's gonna love that. It's like 2 hours later, but he'll still love it.
That's a channel point redemption there. I see that coming.
Right there. For sure. All right.
You could hear
close
the
curtain on this
conviction.
thing, Dan. Let's give us the outro and make it happen.
All right, everybody. That's our rating of the NeverEnding Story. But what's yours? Let us know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. We record this live over at twitch.tv/The Mongoolie Show. So you can head over there and hit the follow button if you want to interact with us live as we're recording this on Thursday nights. Or hit like and subscribe if you made it this far in the video. And then you'll be sure to be here for the next one. Something a little at the end there, but we're good.
That's fine.
Where's the Bubba score? I don't know. Bubba left hours ago. You'll have to talk to him later.
Yeah, we ran long. Too late for Bubba. He's old. He can't.
What's
skip.
your score, Emma?
Yeah, where's Windstorm? Didn't Windstorm really want this movie?
I have no idea.
I'd love to hear some other people's in chat score on
Yeah,
this.
I like when chat throws up their scores as we're putting up ours. It's kind of interesting to see what they're doing.
Yeah. I've been saying,
Thanks,
like,
bro.
what's your rating? Let me know. I've never seen anybody in the comments on YouTube leave a score yet. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll keep doing it because who knows? But
Nobody watches the full video. Nobody knows
you
find
do.
that.
I know you
I'm
do
really
because you saw
liking
the
the
pony.
outro now, Dan. I
I
love
know
that.
I
This is
do, I do.
our rating of the movie. What's yours? I like that a
it's good.
lot.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's yeah, it came like what 19 episodes in or something. But hey, we're growing. We're getting better.
That's it.
That's fine. That's
Never seen the movie and was thoroughly engaged. You have to watch it, Roland. It won't hit you the same seeing it at 30, whatever you are. But
that's what I want to know. Actually,
Yeah,
Ro,
Yeah,
watch the
report
movie
back
because
to
I
us.
want to know how it hits you and if it hits you the same way as us nostalgia warriors.
Yeah. Dan, did you want to
Leave a
close the
comment in the
curtains
YouTube
for
channel
your
after.
editing?
I'm sorry, what?
Did you want to close the curtain for your editing?
Oh, good
The
call.
curtain's still open.
You're
Yeah.
the best.
Close your curtain, man. Disgusting.
That's
Drapes
Just
are
it's so
open.
much easier to edit if we talk for like an hour before and an hour after. Be like, oh, cool. This is the part I actually care about.
Yeah.
Although the best clips come from those two other parts, so whatever.
I'm also proud of your Dollars series scores. Thanks, Ro. Yeah, Dollars was good.
It's
Yeah,
it's
our
really
little board's
weird
going up
when I
nicely.
see movies and trilogies and or franchises come up and see when they beat some of the scores from a long time ago of films that I thought were maybe at the top of my own personal list. And I go through and I go, oh man, maybe I should have rated that differently, or maybe I should have rated the old one differently. And then I'm thinking about it, I'm like, no, that's accurate. These I feel very strongly and real good about all the scores I've ever given. And it's kind of interesting when you really dive into these movies and you tear them apart, you pick them apart with good friends and talk it over and hear different perspectives, because I usually come into this with an idea of where my score is going to land, and we talk about it, and it usually fluctuates that score 5 points one way or another. Sometimes less, sometimes it doesn't fluctuate it at all. But I really feel confident with the scores that I've given, and it's interesting to see where these movies land at the end.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, out of curiosity, Amy, while we got you here, you're looking at our list of all the movies we've done.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Is there a franchise, an entire franchise, not just one movie,
Okay.
that you would be interested in
I was
talking
going to
about
ask the
discussing?
exact same question.
Like, what is one franchise like, oh, I'm surprised you haven't done X yet? Because I know you love being put on the spot. You're welcome.
Oh my god, you're gonna kill you. It's awful.
I mean, we can give you some time to think about it, and we can talk about other things,
I'm
obviously.
sure there are. It just there's too many things rattling around up there. They don't come.
Yeah.
to
I know.
No, for sure.
Um,
But anything else like I know a lot of the movies you love are singles, like Labyrinth. Like there's not a franchise based around that.
Classic.
Labyrinth, solid. Labyrinth,
Yeah.
The Dark Crystal. Dark
that's
Crystal's
one I
a
can put
trilogy,
on
though,
and
right?
watch anytime.
Yeah. Labyrinth is more of a comfort movie than this one is for me personally. Like it's
Same.
one that I could see myself just
Yeah.
watching randomly on a Friday.
It's definitely not as dark. It's dark, but it's not as dark as this, right?
What's the one where he's got? It's not Predator, but he's got the Predator ninja star that he throws. Krull. You guys
I've
have you
never
ever seen
it, but I know what
Krull?
you're talking about.
Oh man, Krull was in there with like Labyrinth for me. It was that crazy epic story, weird world that they live in, that they go through. I like Krull.
I don't know if I ever saw it. I know what movie you're talking about, but I don't think I ever saw it.
No, I can picture the poster and I remember people talking about it, but I've never seen it.
Oh,
What
it's-
you
Do
just
you
thought it
remember
was
the
funny.
films? So there was Conan,
Conan the Barbarian.
and then there was Red Sonja.
Yeah.
Does anybody else remember that?
I know.
Yeah,
that
there's
it
three
existed, I've never
Conan
seen it.
movies, and then the remake.
There's 3 Conan movies? I thought it was
Is
just
there?
the Barbarian and Destroyer.
I felt like
Maybe is it the Barbarian, the Destroyer, Red Sonja? Maybe that I'm thinking of, or
I
I
don't know.
felt like they were tied together somehow.
they connected?
I don't know.
I've never seen it.
yeah,
so
I
I'm
think
not sure.
that's it. I think they're
remember
tied together
Yeah,
or
love
something.
it.
I remember there being 3, and then they remade the Conan with
Yes, they remade it.
the new one.
I'm
Which-
not opposed to doing the Purge, Roland, but I've only ever seen like one of them.
I've never
No,
seen
2 of them.
that
2
one.
of
I'd
them.
be-
You know what? The Purge was this amazing idea, and as
Yeah.
the franchise goes on, they get more and more political with it, and I really just didn't like where they went
I don't
politically,
even mind that they got
utilizing it for an
political,
agenda.
They didn't go deep enough into it. Like it was a really cool concept that they just went like, "Oh, we're going to skim the surface and call it a day." And I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
so
Agreed.
much mining potential there." Now,
Yeah.
again, I haven't seen the whole franchise. I've just seen the
Not
first one
worth
and
it.
one of the other ones, but
The
Yeah,
first one was as good as it gets, in my opinion. After that, it just gets worse and worse and worse, and they
Right.
utilized it
Disappointing,
for
'cause I didn't love the
hot
first
button
one.
political topics that I was like, there's so much more to this than what you guys are using it for. It was terrible.
Yeah. So it says here, Red Sonja takes place in the Hyborian Age, a fictional prehistoric time previously depicted in the films Conan the Barbarian and Conan
Okay.
the Destroyer. So it is
That's where I
based
was getting that.
in that reality somehow, some
Yeah.
way brought up. Yeah,
Okay.
somewhere in that vein, anyway.
Okay.
So, Will, I got to ask you. I
Yeah.
know Brian's right. Brian's wife, Way Too Raw for You, used to have a Twitch channel. Clearly, she's okay being on camera. We broke Amy and got her on here.
No,
Is there any world in which your wife would ever get in front of a camera?
nope.
Okay. That's a pretty solid answer. Just no.
I know my wife. She tells me all the time. She which is funny because she works in theater for a living. She works admin, and she talks in front of people a lot as part of her job. But she has zero interest on ever being on camera for anything ever. It doesn't bring her joy. It only brings her anxiety. She just hates every second of it. She wants nothing to do with that, and I would never ask her to.
No, that's
to do
totally
something
fair. It
she
was just
no, it's a valid question, and I hope Amy comes back again and again and again and again and again.
We'll see. I like being part of the discussion, but I hate being live, being put on the spot.
in
That's
fact, I
something-
did give you the option to pre-record. And you're like,
did,
"Nah, I'm
you
good."
did. I know.
Well, let me tell you this: two
You did
things. One, you did great. Not well. You did great.
Yeah.
And two,
Fuck you, Will.
no, I'm just saying, like, for
Sorry.
somebody who is never live and is uncomfortable being live, she did great. She talked to us. She, of course, you have to think about these weird questions that you don't know are coming to you. That's normal. But you will get more comfortable being live the more you do it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every time it gets twice as easy as the last. So if we are so fortunate to have you again, it would be amazing. Anytime we have a movie that you're somewhat interested in talking about, because I love just getting different perspectives from different people. And so thank you.
Good.
Oh, I was just gonna.
I was just say thanks. Thanks for including me. This
No,
is
I'm.
one that I was passionate about, so it was really cool to hear everybody else's.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's late. I gotta go to bed.
Yeah, no, it's getting late.
I'm gonna turn into a pumpkin.
As I mentioned, it was a super late night for me last night, so I'm gonna call it. Will, what do you got going on tomorrow night?
I have no idea, man.
Hey, you were live today for like, I don't know, 20 minutes or an hour or whatever. I noticed you at some
Two
point. What was going
hours,
on?
yeah. I just did a pop-up IRL stream. I went to the Halifax Explosion Monument by Amy, and then we went to the Halifax Harbor, walked around, saw some sights, ate some gross and hilarious food, and just a pop-up stream because I had a little bit of time instead of doing all the things I should have been doing. So it was fun.
Nice. And Brian, when are you live next?
Hell if I know. Probably this weekend. Tomorrow I got to paint a cabin. I'm going to be doing that all day. I'm really not even looking forward to it, but I got to get this thing done. And
Painting
then my
sucks.
workload is enormous, so I'm usually down to weekends for the most part. I'm loving playing Expedition 33. I'm also working on The Thing Remastered, and then I've been playing Headliners with you guys, which is so incredibly much fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of my new Goose Duck. I love getting together for that whenever that happens. But for the most part, it's streaming on the weekends, and it's completely random schedule. I never know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I won't be able to join you this Sunday for Split Fiction. Are you by any chance available at all Saturday morning?
Probably not. I'll probably be finishing up painting this house that I'm supposed to do tomorrow.
Fair enough. All right. I'll be here Saturday morning playing something. I'm not entirely sure what. I was debating doing Portal 2. I know Dadpool wanted to do the co-op story of that, but maybe I'll do the solo because he's not available. Maybe we'll try something else. We'll do Dadpool. We'll do Portal 2 with Dadpool the next week. I'm not sure, but we'll be here Saturday morning regardless. And we'll be back next Thursday for the NeverEnding Story 2. The story continues, where I'm certain this score will just keep going up and up and up. All right. Thank you all for hanging out. Let's see if we can rate out to somebody. I want to thank Brian and Will for being here with us. That's been fun. We've got Walking Hate, Bendable Straws. Oh, Pineapple Hoops, clearly.
Well, thank you guys for letting me hang out with you once again for what is absolutely my most favorite and cherished moment of the week. I love coming in here and just talking movies, so it's fantastic. Thank you guys. And thank you, chat, for stopping by. Yes, that's right, Emma. I agree 100%. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you guys soon.
Always great to have you guys. Cheers, everybody.